I love looking at our YouTube page and having a comment start the show that really sets the tone for the rest of the week. 3 días más, hermanos. I said that in the most Anglo way. OB, what does that mean?
You said 3 something.
3 more days.
3 more days.
3 more friggin' days, buddy. You
Say
ready?
friggin' in Spanish.
Friggin'?
Okay.
You say it with like... Just
yeah,
like,
I'm ready.
Yeah.
I've been ready for 3 months.
Dude, you've been ready since January the 1st.
You're damn right I have been.
Ready for...
Probably since the Sunday after the LSU game.
Yeah, I'm done with the chatter. I just want
to see them play.
Just play some little football. Like, I'm not
I want
asking
to see
for a
them
lot.
play like the way Anaya Smith said they need to play. Did you hear that?
Yeah.
And we want to kill people.
I mean, in the football sense.
In the football, of course.
Not in the
sense.
Tony Montana sense.
No, definitely not the Tony Montana.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
It is TexAgs Radio. We are presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, and we are here in the Rollo Insurance Studio. And it is the Go Hour presented by the Warehouse at CC Creations. Maroon never looks so good with Maroon You. He is Olin Buchanan. I am David Nuño. We've got some football to get into this week. We're getting closer and closer, as we said. But you said something a moment ago. We do sometimes talk weather. We're like, I don't know, because we're people. We're humans. We notice weather. It was so nice to go outside yesterday, or this morning. When I left the house, I don't know, 6:06, I was like, I could actually hang out here for a little bit. I don't even know, was it 79, 80?
It was 73 when I do my walk in the morning. I get up about 5 o'clock, and I got out, and I started my walk at 5:20, and I checked my phone. It was 73 degrees. It was pleasant. It felt like normal.
It did. It felt like we could just be out here, and let's do it. What's the game going to be like on Saturday? It's going
to be hot.
Yeah?
Because the hottest part of the day in our
neck of
the woods, thank you, is like 6 to 7 o'clock. So maybe the second half it'll start cooling off, quote, cool off and get into the 90s. But it's supposed to be 100 at kickoff.
Well, that's okay because we'll be in the press box. And by the way, the A&M athletics department told us to remind audience to be hydrated when you go to the games. Mm-hmm. They'll have water stations throughout, so make sure that you are getting, because if it's anything like it's been the last couple of weeks, you better get your drink on.
And hydrated with water. Not necessarily with something that has alcohol in it.
Wasn't there a rule like to avoid hangover? I don't know how true it is. For every drink you have, you should follow it up with 8 ounces of water. Isn't that a rule?
I don't know because,
we should ask our drinking community.
Yeah. Yeah.
Kevin,
Kennedy Kevin.
That's a joke.
Is it though?
She's not the president.
That's rude.
She's not only a client. She's
a member.
What did George Zimmer say?
I'm not just a member. I'm a client. I'm
just not a member. I'm not just a president. I'm a client. I don't know.
But that wasn't George Zimmer. It was the hair club guy. George Zimmer was the men's warehouse. He's the guy that said, "I guarantee it."
Yes.
Would Kennedy Cavan know that? I guarantee it.
That she won't.
Well,
hey, so full disclosure, I'm friendly. I wouldn't say friends with Dana Holgerson. Dana and I have known each other for a long time since he was the OC at the University of Houston. He used to come to the show I would do with Ken Hoffman and Raheel at Damaris every Wednesday. He'd come and hang out.
So does he know the 8-ounce water rule?
I don't think he partakes in the water part of it.
Okay.
Great guy. I love Dana a lot. But he did make some comments about A&M. I don't know if you saw that. Yeah.
I didn't. What did he say?
It was more, and this is why I don't have an opinion. I mean, I'm not upset with him at all. Basically, he calls out A&M and Texas for leaving for the Big 12 or leaving for the SEC and not wanting U of H in the Big 12 for a couple decades. And he's like, screw them. If they don't want us, we don't want them. I don't have a problem with it. But I get he's going to get a chance this year to go against at least Texas because he's probably not going to be going against A&M anytime soon to shut them up if you want.
It's funny. I was covering Texas back in like 99 or 2000 when UH got on DeLoss Dodds' bad side. When they scheduled the game, it's always in the Astrodome at that time because, let's face it, Texas, like A&M, brings a lot of fans down there. And Houston was like, we're going to show them, and they're going to play it at Robertson Stadium. They even tried to, in Texas.
Robertson Stadium was so small.
Right, and Texas complained, like A&M would.
Yep.
But like, why are you playing here? It can't accommodate enough fans. So they even tried to construct some temporary bleachers in this, and then I guess whoever fire marshal or somebody in charge of safety says, no, this isn't going to work. So anyway, you played that game in front of about, 35,000 fans, maybe less. And DeLoss Dodds got really pissed off and said, blackballing Houston, he had a tendency to do stuff like that.
Yeah.
And they never played Houston again. And so now they have to for 1 year.
1 year.
And it's, where the game is?
Austin.
I think it's at Robertson Stadium.
No, they don't call it that. It's a new stadium. TDECU.
But it's the same thing, right?
No, it's new. They got a new stadium.
Oh, so they built up. It's an on-campus stadium.
Yeah, it's an on-campus stadium.
So is it? I have to admit, I don't follow UH football.
Yeah, it's right on campus.
So is it really big?
I wouldn't say really big, but it's a nice stadium. Yeah, I mean, it's not big boy.
Are they going to be able to accommodate all the fans that want to go?
No.
No.
We're not talking about SEC country or even Big 10, Big 12.
But
whatever.
you know what? Nothing against UH. I remember when they joined the SWC and they won the championship 3 out of 4 years. They're right after they joined. But I just don't understand the value that UH brings to the Big 12. Not that the Big 12 has much value.
The stadium has a seating capacity of 40,000.
Okay.
That includes 25 luxury suites and 766 club suites.
So basically, we're talking the end zones at Kyle Field.
Yeah, if you put it like that, yeah, pretty much. I don't even know how to respond to that. I like TDs. It's a nice.
I'm sure it's nice.
It's nice.
It's a nice.
It's a nice stadium.
Little stadium.
It's a nice stadium. It's just nice. You don't have to throw in little. It's understood. It's the Big 12, brother.
It's intramural. I mean, play intramurals, brother.
Anyway.
I made fun of the Big 12 yesterday, and some of their Big 12 backers are coming at me on
You
Twitter.
upset a lot of people, is what you do.
It is what I do.
But is that because columnists are wired a certain way, OB?
Not necessarily, but I don't necessarily always go out to make somebody upset.
No, but like you're thinking in the way a columnist thinks, right? You're thinking of an angle that evokes emotion and also is backed up by fact.
Right. That's true. You always want to evoke emotion, but mainly I'm writing for a particular audience, right? Mm-hmm. So if you're not part of that particular audience, you may be offended by some things I write or say, and that's okay. And at my age, I really don't care.
Yeah. Why care? It doesn't matter. So we're actually going to go around the room earlier today because Nick Savage has got some good information for us, OB. I'm sure you've already seen the news out there.
The 8-ounce rule?
Well, let's ask him about that. Let's go behind the glass and say hi to Nicholas Savage. Nick, good morning, buddy.
Howdy, good morning, y'all. And no, I don't know too much about the
8-ounce rule.
The 8-ounce rule.
Have you ever heard that?
I think so. Yeah.
I feel like that. Like
I should call my wife. I'm sure she probably knows.
She would know that.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Kennedy will definitely have the info for you. But anyways, yeah. Hey, I got Kennedy's. She'll fill us in. But hey, just real quick.
Yes, sir.
Did want to mention Sam Matthews was selected as the 12th man for the Aggies. Graduate student linebacker, kind of expected. Billy, speculated on that on the Luchador, but A&M 12th man put out a pretty cool little video of him finding out that he got it. So I'll show that to y'all. Excuse me, real quick.
Wait, and before, never
sorry.
mind. Sorry.
Tell everybody they get out there early for free practice. Let them see it. I can't even put it into words. Unexplainable. Feel like everything I worked for is finally paying off.
That's a great video, man.
Yeah.
I love stuff like that.
Yeah.
And you like when a guy gets a scholarship, like a walk-on, and they make a big deal. I love stuff like that, man.
I do too. It
makes me weepy.
Well, you can cry. You can cry.
Joy.
What I was going to say is for our radio audience who can't see it, just what I wanted our TV audience to see it, but for radio audience to feel it. His face, right? Like when he's walking, you can see like. I don't want to say emotional, but like soaking in the moment is what I saw.
Well, I think there's a lot of emotion there, and it's a lot of pride. But it's I guess when you work for something and it comes to fruition, what that means.
Couple of notes on him. He was A&M's special teams most improved player at the end of the 2021 season. And he was named the special teams MVP and earned strength and conditioning specialist Aggie award. Also had 6 tackles when he had to step up during the Florida game where everybody was out with the flu. So congratulations to Sam Matthews. Be running out that tunnel wearing number 12 and just
what a great feeling that must be. You know, just to be able to put on that jersey, number 12, and all it represents and be that guy.
Yep, no doubt about it. Let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. By the way, the Social Center presented by the Angry Elephant. Looking for a place to unwind and enjoy great drinks and food? Look no further than the Angry Elephant, where patrons live by the slogan, like your politics and love your
bar.
I
bet you they know the 8-ounce rule.
We should ask them.
Yeah.
Is that a rule, Cavs?
Yes, it is a rule. Typically, after one drink, one glass, one whatever, you should have, I say, glass of water. Okay. But like the little baby bottles of water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just
chug one of those.
Chug one of those onto the next one.
So let's just hypothetically say you have 6 drinks, 6 waters means a lot of restroom breaks.
Yeah.
A lot.
A lot.
A lot of restroom, especially at our age, Obi.
At my age, you spend more time in the restroom than you do at the bar. Yeah. I do that anyway.
Gavin, what's popping there at the Angry Elephant News and Social Center?
There's a lot popping. It's game week. And it's game week for a lot of other teams, too. We got volleyball versus Wright State on Thursday, and then versus Bowling Green on Friday, and then cross country at the John McKenzie Invitational at TCU, and then women's golf at the Carmel Cup, and then soccer versus Tulsa.
I want to ask you, Kennedy Cavan, just a quick quiz. Do you know the state in which Wright State and Bowling Green, 2 different states, where they're located? Just Wright State?
I would throw a guess at, I have no clue.
What language were you just speaking there?
Like Indiana?
I don't think you're too far off. I think I may be wrong.
Ohio?
Ohio would be Bowling Green.
Okay.
I think is it Wright
no
State,
clue.
Michigan? I don't know.
See, like you don't even know.
Mr. Google. Hey, Cavs, there's a couple text messages that have come in. Wixon and Sutton. Let's get to them if you don't mind.
Of course. Sorry, my text groove was not signed in.
You want me to handle it? I can handle it.
You can handle it because my text groove was not signed in. Sorry, guys.
All right, we'll start off with Wixon. Let's not get caught up in how we look against lesser opponents. Did we get caught up in that? Remember, Georgia had a tight game with Kent State and could have lost to both Kentucky, Ohio State, and Mizzou. 3 of those teams were not world beaters by any stretch.
Wait.
A win is a win. We need 10 of them. Gig 'em.
I disagree. I think you need to go out. Look, you're saying Georgia had a close game against Ohio State. Yeah, it was in the semifinals of the
against one of the top teams in the country.
The other teams are SEC conference games.
Missouri was a tight game. That was,
right, but
that happens.
That's a conference game.
Yeah,
we're talking about a whole different level, and I think based on what I've seen in recent history, if you don't look good against the cupcakes on your schedule, and I'm sorry, but New Mexico's a cupcake. If you can't look good against those teams, what makes you think you're going to look good when you play SEC teams?
100%. Look, it doesn't tell you everything, but it tells you something. And some of the things we saw in the Sam Houston State game, or now they go by Sam Houston game, showed up all season long. Mm-hmm. They couldn't handle the twist. The blocking was in it. Like, there were so many different things that happened in that game that we saw play out throughout the year. The offense was kind of inefficient. Well, they were inefficient all year long.
I remember a certain pass play early in the game.
Didn't we, like, under our breath say something like, I don't know, we may need to make a change?
I don't even think it was under the breath.
It was out loud.
If you can't make that play, that pass, you can't be the starting quarterback at A&M.
God, I hope he does well.
I do. I do too.
Sutton in College Station says, question for David and OB. I don't know why I did
Sutton always has good questions.
He does.
David, I can read it
No,
now.
I've lost interest.
Okay,
just kidding. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Just so you don't have to put on your radio man voice anymore.
Don't I talk with a radio man voice?
Just to save the ears.
I'm going to have a radio man voice.
Do it. Try it.
radio man voice.
No, say welcome into TexAgs Radio presented by David Gardner Jewelers.
Welcome to TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner Jewelers.
You sound like a villain in a cartoon.
I am.
Yeah.
That's exactly is what I am.
Yeah.
The villain.
Okay, anyway, Sutton and College Station said, question for David and OB. I would love to hear your thoughts on why Nick Saban has not named a starting quarterback, nor has he given out a depth chart, comparing that to the way that Jimbo has handled Aggie quarterback competition.
All right, so I think because we've seen this story play out for the last 9 months, right? He doesn't know. He has a good feeling. I think it's going to be Jalen Monroe.
I do too.
Right? Ty Simpson could be a guy that we see earlier if it doesn't go well against Texas, right? But, and I don't think it's going to be Tyler Buchner. I think Tyler Buchner was just a Hail Mary.
And I think Buckner's their choice ahead of Simpson.
You do? Okay.
That's
because
what
he's got experience and he knows the OC. And
Right.
Okay. I think Ty Simpson's got the higher ceiling. Okay. I think Jalen Monroe might be really good. He might be. He's got to clean up some stuff. But that all that being said, why do I think he's doing that? I think he has become, all college coaches have, but he's become much more guarded when things are not obvious. And he is not ready. He even said it in his press conference yesterday. Was it yesterday or Monday? That, these players take this information, these depth charts, and they really, stress about it. And they consider transferring. And he didn't say those words, but that's the reality of the situation. I think he's just not comfortable at that spot. And he's not going to anoint somebody just yet. But I think it'll be Jalen Monroe when we get there to Saturday.
I think the thing with the quarterback situation is he probably is leaning toward Milroe, but he's not happy with the quarterback situation yet to his standards. It may be good, but it's not what his standards. But if you don't release a too deep, then you can say, well, it's not just about quarterback. It's about everybody. It's
about everybody, yeah. It's well played, Jim. Not Jim. Nick. I think Jim Saban sounds like a good, like his son that he's been mentoring to be the next coach.
If Nick Saban's name was Jim, I'd
call him Jim.
I'd call him Jimbo.
Let's go to something else that ends with an O. What's another thing that's great that ends with an O?
Fargo's.
How did you know I was going to go there?
Because you said something great, and it definitely ends with an O. I didn't even need to hear the end with an O part.
We're not going to recreate the wheel here. We're just going to tell you the facts. Not the way we did it on Monday. We're not going to say fact. We're just going to tell you what they have. They have great specials. And on Wednesdays, their special is chopped.
Oh, you're asking me?
Yeah, I'm telling you.
Yeah, it's chopped beef on a baked potato.
They also have beef ribs. Did you know that?
Beef ribs, big-ass beef ribs.
Sorry.
I
just wasn't ready for that. All right, Thursdays.
Oh, Thursday, you got the big-ass pork chop with macaroni and cheese.
I'm just going to go to 1701 South Texas Avenue in Bryan. Without a doubt.
The best barbecue in the world.
That's their trademark because
it's true.
I hope that was a minute. By the way, their address, just to stretch it out a little bit because I'm laughing here, 1701 South Texas Avenue in Bryan, Tuesday through Saturday, 11 a.m. to 7 p.m.
Great barbecue.
It's called what?
It's called Fargo's.
Thank you. All right, we're back. TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. Rollo Insurance Studio, the official insurance provider of TexAgs Radio. The difference is real. Their headquarters is on Highway 6 right here in College Station. Call them up, 888-44-ROLLO, or go to rolloinsurance.com. It is the Go Hour, presented by the Warehouse at CC Creations. OB, you haven't talked to this gentleman in a while. Let's go straight to the hotline. DeMontre Moore joining us here with his 5 observations heading into the New Mexico game. DeMontre, what's up, man? How you been?
What's good, man? How you doing? Howdy, man.
Good to see you, man, or good to hear from you. Let's before we get into your 5 observations, if you don't mind, let's talk about Connor being the guy. Last week when we spoke, I know that you expected it to be the case. Now that it's official, what do you expect to see?
Man, well, I expect to see a lot of great things. It's actually funny that you asked me this question because that's going to be one of my points. That's 5 reasons. But let's go ahead and get into it early. Connor is the guy, and I'm happy with this selection, man. Honestly, I would have been happy with any selection that we had because we had such a talented room. Shout out to Connor, Max, and even Hayes King. He's the starting quarterback in Georgia Tech. But I bring up Hayes King because for all three of those quarterbacks to be that talented, one had to leave. He's the day one starter over there. You have another one, and Max, who's a solid contributor, and his dad won the Super Bowl. So just like Jake Matthews back in the day, it's in his bloodline. He has the technique, he has the coachingness there. But then we get to our guy Connor there, competition. That goes to show you how talented this kid is. Like, honestly, when I think of Connor, Connor reminds me of Aaron Rodgers type. He can sling it. He's going to be a great playmaker, but he's also going to be smart and strategic and protect the ball. I believe in his 5 starts that he had last year, he didn't contribute to any turnovers. So to have that playmaking ability, and on top of that, for you to have the QB IQ to protect the ball and get through there. And then on top of that, he's going to have experience. That sophomore jump, I'm really excited.
Yeah, we're very pumped. OB, any thoughts on just some of the analysis there from DeMontre? You've been saying for a while, Connor's got the tools. He's got it all.
Well, I think what I really came away with the last thing he said, that sophomore jump. DeMontre, that isn't limited to quarterbacks. Just talk about, if you will, a guy like you who's an All-American. How much improvement did you make from the freshman year to your sophomore year?
Tremendous improvement. I found myself quoting Lil Wayne. He said it best. Experience is the best teacher. And for me, there's something that as much as you go through, you can talk techniques, you can get advice from coaches, older players, just to know what's going on. Actually go out there and see it. Things tend to slow down a little bit. You've been there before. It's like, hey, I've been in the fire and I know what I'm getting to. And you just get that certain comfortability. And once you get that comfortability, everything else is lights out. So, like you said, that sophomore jump, and then on top of that, he's going to have not only Jimbo Fisher, but Petrino behind him, 2 offensive guru-minded guys. Between that experience and that right there, man, he has all the tools to be that guy.
All right, DeMontre, what's your next point? What's your next observation heading into this game?
The next thing going into this game, and not really just this game, I would say overall for the season, and the biggest thing for me is injuries. That's something that we can't control, so I guess let's go ahead and get the uncontrollable variable out the way. We're going to go pray to the football guys and hope that they're on our side. When the injury bugs happen, you never know. Sometimes it's a particular position group. Sometimes it's a whole team. And for us, we got bit with the injury bug in different position groups at different times of the year. We didn't really get to gel and have that cohesiveness. So I pray that stays away from us. And if that can stay away from us, I think the sky is the limit.
It is about health, especially on that O-line.
You have the health, you have everything.
Yep. DeMontre, what's number 3?
Health from point number 3 that we're going to go to is the Maroon. I know they came up with these nicknames last year, but just like they've given every Aggie in the day a nickname, that's when the pressure has been put on. Even back in the day when they gave me the nickname the Monster, it was like you had to live up to this. So it's time for them to live up to their name, and I believe they will. Injuries and experience was the main thing that was going on with them. But if you look at these guys when they actually got healthy and later on in the year, in a quote-unquote meaningless game, they were able to thrash, I believe, LSU for 230 rushing yards, somewhere around there. I know Devin A-Chain, he had over 200 rushing yards. And that was later on in the year with a bunch of young guys. So for them to be a year older, a year smarter, bigger, stronger, and if they're coming in healthy, I think these guys are going to go roll over everybody and run in between, not just running down people's throats. And you got Aaron Rodgers back there. He got, or baby Aaron Rodgers, we should call him. Mind you, at the end of the year, y'all going to be saying that with the Heisman. But when you can protect him and all the weapons that we got, it's gonna be a scary sight. So it all starts up front. It starts in the trenches. So I need the Maroons doing that.
Hey, DeMontre, are you on speakerphone or Bluetooth?
No, sir. I'm on AirPods. They told me I was good.
Yeah, you're kind of cutting in and out. Let's try it without the AirPods for a second, just to finish out the segment. I'll give you a second to kind of just circle back. You keep cutting in and out.
Yeah.
It's been hard to hear you.
It sounds like some really good information.
Yeah, the information's been great.
Thank you.
When you get a second.
I'm sorry.
Oh, much better.
Hello?
Much better. Yeah, much better. Let's.
I'm sorry.
No problem.
I'm sorry, Ags.
Oh, it's good. We heard you. We just want to hear you better. Let's
I got you.
Let's get into number 4.
Okay. So number 4, and I'm gonna also backdoor with a bonus pick for y'all as well.
All right.
So we're gonna go ahead and go down to number 4. I just wanted to bring back to the QB situation with Connor. Connor is our guy. Like I said, we got baby Aaron Rodgers back there. He's gonna throw it, but it starts with the trenches. You have the O-line. You have all the weapons. But our whole QB room, we need them to depend on each other and push each other. With us having Connor, we need Max to challenge Connor, to make him better, to stay out there. When Johnny was going, he had other guys behind him that were challenging him, and he knew that they were just as capable, and they had to take over their spot. Well, we need them to have a great, healthy competition, but also be his eyes off the field. Even with him making that sophomore jump, it takes a village to run everything, so that whole room is going to need to be running together. So I think they're going to need each other to push each other.
I like that. All right, let's get into the next one.
And the last and most important part, actually, let me circle back to that injury bug. I messed up this young man's name last week, McKinley Jackson. That's who I was talking about, Mount Jackson myself. When we were talking about injuries and we got that big behemoth of a man-child back, please, guys, I pray that he stays healthy, and I pray that he keeps eating up 2 and 3 defenders. Amen. Now back to Aggies. The biggest and most important point that I'm going to bring up, Coach Terry Price. God rest his soul. That was my defensive line coach when I was there. But we all know that in football, either everybody loves a comeback story or everybody loves a big story if it's a death or a tragedy. And this was a tragedy not only to the A&M family, but to college football as a whole. That man, to his last and final days, was out there recruiting on the road. You had everybody. When we went to his funeral, it's amazing to look around the room and you see Jackie Sherrill, like all the A&M greats. But not only A&M greats, you have Deuce Vaughn that is there. His teammates that he's played with, but to see A&M and the whole football team there be there in unison and show the solidarity that they had and the coaching staff, you've seen the look in their eyes. You've seen how much of an impact that this man has made on them, and that is all the motivation that you need. And it goes to show how many people that he touched, kids that he didn't even coach, but just he affected through the recruiting process that chose to go other places, was speaking out about him. You had coaches speaking out about him. So they have all the momentum. You know, it's an old saying back in the day. They say, I need a little sugar extra on top. I need that cherry on top of that ice cream. I need that frosting on the cake. Well, they have all the tools of the foundation. But let's not get it twisted. Coach Price was the foundation, but losing him in such an early way and the way that we lost him, that's going to be the accelerant that they need right there for that bonfire to light and for everybody to go on. And I know that these guys are fighting for him throughout this season. So that is going to be the biggest thing, not only going into this game, but this whole season, is doing it for Terry Price and Devin Price and his wife and the whole family out there and the Aggie family as a whole.
DeMontre, great analysis, man. We appreciate it. I know you're running around today, so thanks for making time. Next week we'll have some observations about real games to talk about.
Yes, sir. Thanks again. I appreciate y'all for having me.
Appreciate you, sir. Good stuff there. DeMontre Moore on the hotline. Thank you very much to him. Look, some of these things may sound like Captain Obvious, but yeah, health. We've had too many years in a row of key positions injured. Quarterback's been injured. Regardless of what you think about the production from that position, quarterback has been injured 2 years in a row. Mm-hmm. Offensive line has been decimated. Like there are many things that have happened. You got to stay healthy, and you got to have the right guy as QB1.
Yeah, you'll look at most championship teams, and most championship teams, I'd say the vast majority, get through a season virtually unscathed. There's always some things here and there.
Sure.
But you get to a season virtually unscathed, you have a great chance to have a great year.
I agree. All right, let's hit a break here, and we're talking about the Charge apparel. So actually, Kennedy was going to read this, but I'm going to read it. A while back, Matt was asking if I'm wearing schmediums again, and I'm like, Actually, I am wearing mediums again, but I've lost a little bit of weight, so I can wear them. This is actually a large from the Charge apparel, the one that I'm wearing right now.
Oh, yeah?
Slightly tailored fit. That's what the copy says, but you can see it. Is it slightly tailored and fit?
I reckon.
You reckon so?
Uh-huh.
I love the Charge apparel. Great clothes out there. And they're just the way to go when it comes to getting polos and tees. They do it the right way, and they do it right here in the United States because they want to support our U.S. economy.
Love that.
Couple of Aggies, class of 2014, who met in the Parsons Mounted Cavalry and the Corps of Cadets. Tucker as a member of E2 and Travis as a member of Squadron 2. Upon graduating, they decided to go and get into the U.S. Army and commission to the Air Force. And separating from the military, they formed the Charge Apparel, where 12% of their total sales, not just profits, are donated to veteran nonprofit partners with a focus on mental health initiatives.
That's awesome.
Isn't that great?
Yeah.
An ode to the 12th man. Premier fabric, as I told you, lightweight, slightly tailored fit to the chest and arms, designed to make you look and feel your best. It is the Charge Apparel. Find them online, thechargeapparel.com, or on Instagram, The Charge Apparel, or Twitter, The Charge Brand. And we're back, TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. It is the Go Hour, presented by the Warehouse at CC Creations. He is Olin Buchanan. I am David Nuño. And we're about to talk a little college football. I mean, we do that all day, but we're going to go around college football because we got some games to get ready for. We've got, I guess we can kind of look back at some of the stuff that happened over the week. OB, you wrote a column on it, so we're just going to kind of follow it up with a little radio version of it just to kind of break it all down. And where do you want to start about games that you want to see this weekend? How about the biggest game that's taking place in Orlando?
Yeah, and it's on Sunday. That would be LSU, number 5, against number 8, Florida State. Two teams that actually feel like they have realistic national championship aspirations. I think it's a huge, sexy matchup because whichever team does win, that enhances, obviously, their
resume.
Their resume. But if you lose, you're on the tightrope the rest of the year. You can't lose again.
And I think... Look, you can't have 2 losses. I recognize that. But I think LSU may have the harder road.
Without a doubt.
But they would also probably get more grace than Florida State.
Yeah, probably.
Because last year, they had a couple losses heading into the A&M game. There was a outside of this world shot for them to get into the playoffs had they beat Georgia in the SEC championship game, right? Well, they would have gotten in, right? Probably.
Well, if they would, maybe.
Yeah.
I think if they had beaten Georgia, I don't know that they would. I think Georgia would have gotten in still.
Georgia would have gotten in still. I think LSU would have had a case to make.
Oh, they always have a case, but I don't think they would have.
Florida State won't be afforded that. They won't have that. Like there isn't a Georgia dangling in the rest of their schedule that they could make it right.
Yeah, they got to go to Clemson, and that would be a big win for them. But the rest of the ACC is really not that challenging. They get Florida late, but I don't think Florida's going to be very good.
I don't think so either. Although, and we'll talk about this game. I think, is it on there? No, it's not on there. But
Thursday
the game
night.
tomorrow, Florida, Utah. Cam Rising saying all the right words about playing.
Mm-hmm.
He says he's ready to go, but he hasn't practiced, right? Like, do they let him go? I guess he has practiced, but he hasn't been a full go. He hasn't been cleared yet to go. That makes a big difference I think they're going to be using if he does not go, I read that they would go with was it a walk-on senior, something to that effect? It was somebody who just has no experience, and Cam Rising's that dynamic of a player.
Yeah. Obviously, you don't want to go into a game like that with somebody who's unproven. But Florida's going to go in with a guy at quarterback that, quite frankly, I know he had one good year at Wisconsin, but I think Graham Mertz really was disappointing up there. And it's going to get easier in the SEC or even against Utah. Utah, solid, good roster. I think they have more talent than Florida.
The likely guy to start if Cam Rising can't is actually a redshirt freshman, Brandon Rose, 3-star out of Temecula. So if Temecula. That's a good word, isn't it?
Is that California?
Yeah, it's Cali.
Okay.
Motown, Cali. All right, what's the next game on the list? Colorado, TCU for, I think, very intriguing on many parts there because TCU is completely remade. Not completely, but they're pretty much remade. Colorado completely remade.
Yeah. I think that's more of a game just out of curiosity. What's TCU going to be without Max Duggan and some of the guys they lost? And then what's Colorado going to be with everything Deion Sanders has done? So I think you watch that more out of curiosity than it being this great matchup of great teams.
I want to bring up Deion. Did you see he was asked a question about being a Florida State guy, and he said, "I'm not a null." He goes, and I read the answer, and apparently there was a little bit of jest in the way he answered it, because I'm not a null. I graduated from an HBCU, right? Is it Talladega College in 2020 that he actually graduated from. And it got me thinking, what does that say about Deion? And what does that say about Florida State? Maybe it says nothing, but I believe you come to Texas A&M, even the guys that go play elsewhere say they're Aggies. You know what I'm saying? Like there's something about the pride in this university that I think most people, not everybody, because you can't paint the same brush for everybody. Most people who go to A&M are Aggies regardless. They wait, they get their Aggie ring, and they're like, you know what? I might play a little bit of Georgia Tech, or they graduate from A&M and they move on. I think it just shows Deion is Deion, and we got something special as I try to localize it from an A&M perspective.
Yeah, if Florida State was looking for a coach, and whatever that other school he says he graduated from,
Talladega.
Yeah, if they have a program,
college.
Anyway, if he got offered the head coaching job at both places, which one do you think he's going to take? And then he's going to take Florida State, and then you think he's going to work that I'm a no angle?
No, he's a no.
Yeah.
Now, he might have meant it in jest. I didn't hear it. I just read the quote, but there's no Aggie in the world that would say that.
That I'm not an Aggie, right?
Yeah. If you played 4 years at Texas A&M, you're an Aggie.
Yeah.
It's in your blood.
Or just go to school here. Yeah.
Pretty much. All right, the next game.
Clemson at Duke.
The Fighting Elkos.
They were 9-4 last year. Clemson had a bad year last year, right?
11-2.
11-2. That was their bad year. 11-2 and won the conference championship. That was their bad year.
Duke had a great year.
And that was a great year for Duke. So this is a game, the first game of the year, that has major ACC championship implications.
It does.
And number one, how often can you say that for the first game of the year? And number two, how often can you say that when it involves Duke?
Yeah. Now,
Elko.
I haven't followed Duke as closely as I follow Clemson. Not that I follow Clemson all that close, but there's obviously more information out there. But my understanding is Duke has lost some players. So it'll be – I don't know if they're the same caliber of Duke team that they were last year.
I don't either. That's why they play. But I'm sure Elko will put a good team out there.
That we know.
And, look, it's not a walk in the park against Duke like it used to be. So Clemson might get challenged.
Well, and I'll say this about Clemson, because if I'm going to give Jimbo props, I'm going to give Clemson a little props. They looked at their offense and it wasn't good enough, and they went and got one of the top coordinators out there in Garrett Riley. I got to give them credit for that. They recognized the quarterback situation wasn't working. Not only did they change the quarterback like A&M did, they got him an OC to really maximize his skills in K. Kuplink and teaming up with Garrett Riley. So I give Clemson props on that. And again, they fell to 11-2.
That's the way it's supposed to be here.
That's what I expect here.
Yes.
Yeah, no doubt.
Eventually.
This next game, I'm so intrigued by Opie, because you got two quarterbacks with names, one who's a real name, one who kind of flirts with being a name, and Spencer Rattler. And Drake May is the truth.
Drake May, like 4,000 plus yards passing last year and like 600 or 700 yards rushing. He's an exciting player. But what about the rest of the team around him? I don't know. South Carolina, same thing. They feel like they got a really good quarterback. I think he's solid and with great potential, but he's up and down. And Spencer Rattler. But what about the rest of the team around him? They're both two teams that have been pretty good, but are trying to get to the next level.
Yep.
Right? Last year, South Carolina was pretty good, but you need to get to the next level. North Carolina too, and one of them's, of course, led by the old coach, and one of them by the young coach. So it's a regional clash. So I think that'll be interesting to watch. But the quarterback play will be fun.
This is a huge game, really, for both programs. I mean, anytime you're taking on like a rival from a real conference regardless, right? Like it's a big game. But South Carolina's gotten all this love this offseason. And I look at their schedule and I'm like, man, they may be improving, but they're about to get – I think they're going to get humbled this year. I do.
I would think that they'll take a step back. I'll take A&M over them at home. I don't think Clemson will give one away again. Just like I don't think A&M will give one away again. So I could see them losing 2 or 3 more games than they did last year.
Look, would you pick UNC or South Carolina? It's at home for South Carolina, which is great atmosphere there.
It is a great atmosphere. Typically, I take the SEC team in a non-conference game, and you're going to be right more often than not.
But that is a TBD. That's
but this is one of those
right?
that you could go the other way.
All right. Then they got Georgia.
Loss.
They got Mississippi State. I think we've done this before.
Yeah.
But Mississippi State, Tennessee. That is all by the time you get to October 1st.
Yeah, they could have 3 losses before October.
And then, you got
or maybe 4.
And you got A&M later. They got Kentucky. They host Kentucky, but I think Kentucky's going to be really good. And they got Clemson. That is a possible 3 more losses. That's a 6-loss team.
Could be 7.
Could be 7, yeah.
Because I don't think Mississippi State's going to be the pushover either.
No, you don't. Yeah. So there is that. So and I like Shane Beamer. There's something about his energy, very likable.
Very likable guy.
The last one, talk about offense, buddy. Boise State versus number 10 Washington.
Yeah, Michael Penix, Heisman contender, all those things. Washington's number 10. But I'm still not a believer in Washington. And I know Boise State, this isn't Chris Peterson's Boise State teams, but they're still pretty good. And should Washington win? Absolutely. But is Boise State, look, it's not like playing New Mexico.
Right.
Is Boise State's going to challenge you. So if Washington better be as good as they're projected to be, because if they're not, they could lose to Boise State. And I think that's an interesting game to see.
Yeah, I agree. Let's hit a break. When we come back, there's a question on the chat from 210. Question for OB. I want you to think about it, okay? Question for OB. What team is he high on? Seems like every team he comes up with is he thinks is overrated. So think about that. Yeah. Who are you high on? Yeah. We'll get into that. I'm high on QC Kinetics. If you got knee pain and it's getting worse, you got to get rid of it. Why have any knee pain? If there's a solution for it, let's try to get rid of it, right? Let's get rid of that hip pain that you might have, your shoulder pain. Don't let them tell you that you need surgery. Don't let them tell you that you need steroids. There are other options out there. Explore them all. Find out what's the best for you. But if I were you, I'd call QC Kinetics because it's a free consultation. They can make that pain go away with their all-natural, advanced regenerative medicine. They're helping people here every day with these amazing treatments that restore and repair that damaged joint tissue, like turning back the clock. They use concentrated healing agents from your own body to simulate that damaged tissue in your joints so they can work like they're supposed to. 0 downtime. You get in there a couple times, you're going to be feeling great real soon. QC Kinetics is the nation's leader in that exciting medical breakthrough, and people are getting real, lasting relief and say no to drugs and surgery. So if you've got pain due to injury or arthritis, this is a remarkable option that you need to check out, and the consultation is absolutely free. Call them up, 979-452-6000, QC Kinetics, 979-452-6000. That is 979-452-6000. TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Go Hour, presented by the Warehouse at CC Creations, Olin, Buchanan, David Nuño. I'm going to go back to that question. Okay. So 210 was saying it feels like you're down on a lot of teams. Who are you high on?
Well, all right. Do we want to like from the SEC or from a nationals perspective?
We got about 1 minute and 30 left, so let's do 1 minute 20 left. Let's do a couple SEC and maybe a national.
Well, I've said I'm high on Kentucky. I think they're going to be a good team. Obviously Georgia. I picked Alabama to win the West. I think I'm high on A&M. I think LSU is going to be the same team they were last year, and that was a good team, right? So that's the SEC. From a national standpoint, I think USC is going to win the Pac-12. I'm high on, if you put it that way, Texas. I don't think they're going to make the playoff because I think they're going to have 2 losses, but I think Texas is going to be really good in the Big 12. I think Clemson's going to bounce back and be a national caliber team that's going to be in the national championship discussion along with Florida State. And in the Big 10, it's Ohio State, Michigan. I think Michigan could win the national championship. I think Penn State's going to be a challenger, but I think it's still Ohio State and Michigan.
I think it's fair to say, too, we may pick holes because there's a lot of holes to pick this year with Alabama, even though you're high on them, with LSU, with I don't know if Georgia's got holes per se, but they got some questions to answer.
Yeah.
Right. So there's questions throughout the entire world of college football. I'm really high on Michigan. I think Michigan
with that offensive line and the running backs and a capable quarterback, they could be nasty.
Thank you, Obi.
You bet.
When we come back, John Harris next on TexAgs Radio. Presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. Somebody's phone going off in the studio. Just saying. It is a good time to be talking Aggie football, NFL football, college football with our friend John Harris, who joins us, Texans sideline reporter, and, of course, footballtakeover.com. Go become a member. Go subscribe. Go do all of it. Johnny, good morning, buddy.
Good morning. David, a quick question. When the guitar riff hits in Panama, how many people out of 10 do you think actually do the air guitar riff with it? Because I just did it. And I'm like, you know what? I think everybody does it when the Panama riff comes up. I would say 9 out of 10 do the guitar riff, the air guitar when it comes on. Your thoughts?
I'm glad you asked that. I think it depends on what community you're in, because I live now where I feel like I'm prehistoric, Johnny. With all the college kids around here, I feel like I'm 74 years old. Not that there's anything wrong with being 74, but that's how I feel here.
No.
And most of them won't know that riff. Nick Savage probably would. When I worked at ABC 13, 75% of that group, so 7.5 people would have done it.
Yeah, I got you.
Agree?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, there are probably some people listening to that song going, man, why are you playing the oldies this morning, David? I mean, my God, that was a song on my junior high. So, yeah, we're getting older, but at the same time, David, we're also getting wiser.
This is true. Hey, update us on Kenyon Green. I saw the unfortunate news yesterday, and a lot of social media reaction. What can you tell us?
Well, Kenyon's been battling injuries plural, and it's been a number of different things. I think the one that really has popped up lately is a shoulder. I think it's a shoulder, labrum, chest, something in that capacity. He injured it against the Raiders last year. Now, that might not have been the first time he did it, but it's the first time I remember him having a major issue with it. He'd had issues with his knees, and there was surgery at some point before he got into the building. There were a lot of things going on with him last year as a rookie. The shoulder injury, though, I think really was a tough one, because from that point after the injury last year, he really struggled. I mean, really struggled. So it was, but we didn't know, okay, can he fight through it? He tried to play through it, and that wasn't good at all. And so, okay, get to the off season. Let's get some things taken care of. So I don't know whatever got taken care of with the shoulder, but it ended up not working. Whatever they did, whatever happened, I don't know. So the other night, when he gets basically hit on a spin move by Brian Brzee, formerly of Clemson, you saw him immediately grab that shoulder. And I think that was the opportunity for the Texans to say, okay, look, we got to get this right. You have to physically get right, because I think what was happening was the physical component, or lack thereof, was starting to affect him mentally. Like, he was losing confidence. And I think all of that was playing a role. So I think the Texans said, look, as important as he is, we got to get him right, both physically, mentally. So let's put you on IR, go get the surgeries you need, go get the rehab done during the season, so that by the time you get near the end of the season, you're not rehabbing, you're working out and getting stronger, you're transforming your body, and you're becoming a full-time adult, strong, healthy male that can play in the NFL. And I don't think that Kenyon's been there with all the different injuries that he's had. So I think that's pretty much where it is. It's just a bunch of injuries, and what do you do with it? How do you handle it? And I think the Texans just said it's gotten to a point where we need to handle it now, because if we don't, it's just going to get worse. His confidence is going to get worse. He's going to play at 80%, and we don't need him at 80% anymore. We need him at 100%. We need to figure out whether he's got it or not. And if we can't figure that out, we can't figure that out with him being injured. but we can't figure out if we can get him healthy and get him back on the field. And I think once he's there, I think he'll be okay. And I think a lot of people have been panicking. Oh my God, what are we going to do with? I'm like, look, Jadeveon Clowney for 2 years in Houston was thought to be a massive bust because he had one injury after the next. It was a concussion, then it was microfracture, then it was the hip because of the microfracture. Then finally in year 3, he shows up and is like, whoa, Jadeveon Clowney, holy cow. Now, Kenyon Green cares about football a whole lot more than Jadeveon Clowney. So if Kenyon Green can get healthy, Jadeveon Clowney should be the guy that he sort of looks at and says, I'm going to be that guy. I'm going to get to this point. But there's a lot that he needs to do from now and then to get to that point. I think he's going to get there. He's a young dude. I think he can get there. But now it's the matter of starting to take care of that business, get him healthy, and see what he's able to do for long term.
Johnny, one other NFL question. C.J. Stroud, just tell me what you've seen. There's been some ups, some downs, but the overall vibe and the command of the offense.
Yeah, I think the downs, though, David, have been very early. You know, they happened early, and he's worked through them. The last 2 games, I can't tell you how many drops there have been. And one of the things I said about this receiver group, I mean, I think it's better than people think, but it's still not where it needs to be. But those guys better get used to making contested catches because CJ puts the ball on them. If they're running a route, they're going to get the ball. He's going to put it in a spot where they have an opportunity to catch it, whether they know it or not. They're going to have an opportunity to catch it. So they've got to be better snatching the football. I think he's been wonderful the last couple of games. The first game, he was 2 for 4 for 13 yards. The other night, he was 2 for 4 for 16 yards, and the games couldn't have been more polar opposite. But it shows the growth of CJ. I know a lot of people wanted Bryce. I mean, I had Bryce 1 and CJ 2, but I think a lot of people thought it was Bryce or nothing. And when obviously the Texans won that game against the Colts and realized it wasn't going to be Bryce, I think it was like, they sounded on CJ. I'm like, wait a second. Wait till you see this dude throw the football. I feel like I was kind of a lone voice of like, this guy is a baller. And he's come here and he's shown those things. I mean, D'Amico Ryans was gushing about his ball placement accuracy. I mean, he's like, wow. So, yeah, he's going to have some rough spots because he's a rookie. There's going to be stuff he didn't and hasn't seen. But, we've all been rookies. We've been rookies in this business. I remember I was a rookie in this business right next to you. And there were probably times I looked at you and I was like, what the hell am I doing today? I didn't know this. I didn't know that. CJ's going to have those moments, but he's going to get through them because I think he's a wonderful thrower of the football. I think he's tough. I think he's mentally tough. He's been through a lot in his life. And I think that really you see that in the way that he plays. Now, we used to have a quarterback here that we thought the same thing. So we'll see how it goes in due time. But talking about this year, C.J. Stroud's made a lot of strides. And I think he's way more accurate than any quarterback I've ever seen come through this building. Anybody. And he's more accurate than a lot of quarterbacks I've ever seen in the NFL. It's just a matter of keeping him upright, giving him time to throw, and then giving him some weapons that he can do something with.
So this whole offseason has been more theory, although an educated theory, that Bobby and Connor are going to dial it up and have some awesome plays. Now that it is official, Connor named the guy, the thing that we all expected. Now that it's official, what do you expect to see from that combination, that the chemistry and the connection that the OC is going to have with QB1?
Well, I think it's going to be a solid connection. Obviously, when I think about hard coaching, I don't know if that's the right way of saying it, but hard coaching, you got to have a guy willing to accept it and know that he's going to be coached hard. And at the same time, he's also going to learn a lot about the game. He's going to learn more about what he's seeing out on the field, all that. So there's a lot that goes into it. But if Connor and even Max and other quarterbacks that follow are willing to accept the Petrino coaching and kind of try and see the game through coach's eyes, like, wait, why is coach calling that play? What? No, you're like Nuke Lelouch in Bull Durham. You follow Crash Davis. Connor Wegman, for the time being, follows Bobby Petrino. What Bobby says, that's what you need to go with. And if you give yourself 100% into the process, then I think what you're going to end up with when you drop back to pass, you're going to be like, holy cow, 3 guys are open. Boy, they didn't see this coming. In week to week, you might see things that are different. And as a quarterback, you've got to be able to adapt to that. Like, hey, this week, and I'm not talking game plan offense, but when you have a volume of plays in your scheme, you go through and you pull the ones out that are going to help you in particular situations. So you might have some stuff this week for New Mexico that you might not use for Miami. You might be saving some stuff for Miami. But I know if I'm a quarterback playing for Ryan Petrino, and I know my man Big Tex, Ryan Mallett, RIP, he'd tell me the same thing. He's like, Coach Petrino would give you the tools. It was just a matter of whether you wanted to follow the plan or not. He'll give you the tools. And he'll push you. That's what Connor has to, I mean, it doesn't have to be a meek yes, but you got to be on the same page with him and understand that Bobby's seen it all, done it all. You got to roll with it. And then get the ball to your weapons. When in doubt, throw it to a weapon. And guess what? There are a lot of them on that field. Throw it to one of the guys in a maroon shirt and let that guy do his work. That's all you got to do. I mean, well, it sounds simple, John. Yeah, it is. When you have those athletes, of course it is. You don't have to do too much. Get the ball out to them. Get the ball out of your hand hot. Move the offense. Get in a rhythm. Follow Coach Petrino, and this offense is going to be quite all right in 23.
Johnny, what do Bryce Foster and Ruben Fothery have to do to make sure they're top couple rounds NFL picks? I mean, I think Fothery's probably a little bit further away, at least from what we saw on the field last year. Bryce has been injured, but they're guys that we have penciled in as future NFL players. What do you need to see from them this year?
I think Bryce wants to see health. I want to see how his lateral agility is, and some of the things that they're going to do in this offense. I mean, Bryce is a brute. I mean, I don't think from a strength standpoint there's ever any question. But I think, lateral agility, how does he get to second level? How healthy is he? I mean, health is the biggest thing, to be honest. And if he's healthy, then what does he bring to this offense that, maybe other centers aren't going to? But if he shows that he's got that lateral agility, he's never going to lose that strength. So if he's healthy, I think he's going to be agile. I think Ruben's got to really focus on technique and knee bend. He's 6'7", 6'8", maybe, right? So he's got to get to a point where he's not standing tall. If he's standing tall, then rushers have an opportunity to bull rush him. He's not as agile. I think he's really got to focus on knee bend. I think he's plenty athletic. But getting yourself to a point where you can play at a adequate pad level for a guy that tall. And there are a lot of guys that struggle with that. And I think that will help him. But I think kind of both of them, one of the things I really want to see is, feet and lateral agility improvement, especially for Ruben. For centers, it's not totally the game, but I feel like as a freshman, I saw that from Ruben. I felt like last year he wasn't moving very well at all in comparison to what I saw as a freshman. So I think knee bend, lateral agility for Ruben for sure. Look, the guy's got a first rounder written all over him, but he's got to play at that level. And I think one of the main things he's got to do is make sure feet and lateral agility are coming at a solid pace. But to get there, I think he's got to play at adequate pad level. So you got to be a little bit more of a knee bender than a waist bender. And sometimes guys can't break that habit right away, but that's something he's really got to focus on, is playing at adequate pad level with solid and adequate knee bend.
Talking to John Harris here on TexAgs Radio. Johnny, what do you think about the way Sam Hartman looked with Notre Dame? Look, one game against a team that they should destroy, but what a debut. And for a team that's been lacking offense, he sure could be that answer.
Yeah, and I think to understand how good Sam was, look back at what Notre Dame quarterbacks have done before him. And they faced teams like that, and it didn't go like that. Drew Pine, Ian Book. I mean, Book won a lot of games, but he wasn't very good. Sam Hartman's good. And I don't think people really understood how good Sam Hartman was. He was in that slow mesh read at Wake Forest. Play action takes on a whole different look. All of a sudden you're running pro-style play action now at Notre Dame. You're throwing to Jaden Greathouse, a stud from Austin Westlake. Like, okay, man, the game's a lot easier. You're protected by arguably the best tackle duo in the country, and Joe Alt and Blake Fisher. And you've got an offensive plan that's pretty good. You understand how to take advantage of tendencies. And I broke that down on my YouTube page for Notre Dame. But I thought Sam was really good. I thought he was really what I expected. And I think that's what Sam is. Sam's a really good drop-back play-action quarterback, but he can make some plays happen off script, as he did on the touchdown. So, yeah, it's Navy. But if I'm a Notre Dame fan, I'm feeling solid knowing that the Sam Hartman that I saw at Wake Forest, he might be even better for us in Notre Dame because he's got better talent around him. He's got really good talent around him. He's got good coaching. And I think that Notre Dame defense is going to be able to get him the ball back with some turnovers because I think that side of the ball is pretty solid. So I think everything points in a positive direction for Notre Dame. And I'm just curious now as the games, build up for Sam Hartman down the road. They'll face USC at some point. I think he's going to put them in a position to be 10-2, 11-1, and that could put them in playoff consideration. And I don't want to overreact to it, but Sam Hartman was the big key for Notre Dame this year. If Sam Hartman is what he was at Wake Forest and maybe even a tad better, boy, Notre Dame could be really good. Well, that's where we are. So I was not surprised by it. I was pleasantly pleased, and I think he'll get better with this group, and I think that's going to be fun to watch if you're a Notre Dame fan.
Johnny, not to again make this about A&M, but I look at Sam Hartman as potentially a precursor for what we might see with A&M because the quarterback makes such a difference. And I know we got to see Connor at the end of the year, but Connor was driving a Ford Tempo. Now he's driving a Mercedes-Benz, and I think I use that template for A&M because they had their offensive issues. They struggled last year. A&M had their offensive issues, and I think both have maybe figured it out.
I think you're right. I mean, I think it's there's one massive difference, and that's just the playing experience. Sam had started for 4 years. Connor started for half a year. That to me is the difference. Now, I do think that Connor's more physically talented than Sam, but Sam's a damn good quarterback. Like he knows how to play the position. That's what Connor has to get to. He's got to get to where he's playing the position. The flip side of that is I think A&M's offensive talent's better. I do think that Notre Dame has advantages at tackle, but that's it. Other than that, I don't think that Notre Dame has an advantage offensively at any other position, in particular receiver. I do think Greathouse makes that Notre Dame receiving core a lot better than it maybe appeared on paper going into the year. But I don't think you're going to find a better group of pass catchers than what Connor has at A&M, and that's going to be a big deal. So can the front protect Connor the way Notre Dame's front protected Sam the other day? And if they do that consistently, then yeah, David, it makes a lot of sense. The difference, and it's a big difference, is just the playing experience. Sam's got a lot of it, and that's helped him. It helped him in his transition. Now, Connor hasn't had to make a transfer transition, but he has had to make a transition to a new offensive coordinator or a new play caller. So there are adjustments. I think it's a very apt comparison. I don't think it's a question. It's an apt comparison. But I just think the thing that separates them is the playing experience for Sam. But Connor makes up for it because he's got better perimeter players that he can get the ball to.
Talking to John Harris here on TexAgs Radio. Johnny, one last one for you. I'm really intrigued by the Drake May Spencer Rattler matchup, more because I see some real struggles coming up for South Carolina, North Carolina. I love what I see from Drake May. Is he enough? Is that enough to carry them through the ACC? I don't think so, but I am intrigued by this opening game. What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, it's one of the more intriguing ones. I mean, LSU, Florida State. I like the Louisville, Georgia Tech game because I want to see what Haynes does for Georgia Tech. But yeah, this game of quarterbacks, because I think people forget about Spencer Rattler. And Spencer's as talented as any quarterback in this country. Now, he's also as mercurial as any quarterback in this country, any player in this country. And Drake May is an absolute dude. Now, I think South Carolina's got some dudes on that defense that could make things tough for Drake and move him around a little bit. And this is also something to keep an eye. I think about this a lot for quarterbacks, especially going into their third year, their draftable year. North Carolina's got a new offensive coordinator. It is not Phil Longo. And that's what Drake May ran last year. So how do you adapt to a new offensive scheme? How much of a change is it? And there will be some changes. How does Drake adapt to that? He's lost a couple of guys on the outside, Antoine Green and Josh Downs, and that will impact him. So he's got to find some weapons quickly. And now he can make those weapons look a lot better than they are because he's the quarterback that he is. But Drake's going to probably have to deal with more than Spencer Rattler is. Rattler's got his guy, Juice Wells. He's got an offensive line in front of him that's got some dudes coming back. He's keeping the same offensive scheme. Spencer finally has some continuity in his scheme and what he's doing. It's interesting to say this, that I think he's got more settled than Drake May does. So it's going to be a whale of a matchup. I love that game. I love that matchup, North Carolina, South Carolina. But, it starts tomorrow night, Florida, Utah. I got keys to the game at footballtakeover.com. That's going to be a fun one. Graham Mertz adapts to the SEC. LSU, Florida State's going to be great. North Carolina, South Carolina. And, of course, you got a little game there in College Station. It'd be nice to see the Aggies kick it off.
Johnny, I lied. I'm going to throw in one text that just came in, and we got about a minute, so let's try to knock it out. Hoyt sends in, David, from a Tempo to a Mercedes now? Come on, man. How do you figure that Jimbo already went to the new car store and got a top-of-the-line 2 years ago? By the way, these comparisons aren't like here's why I use Mercedes. I think Bobby Petrino offensively is a brand you can trust high level. If you want me to call it a Lexus or whatever, I believe his offensive brand of football has been proven, and it's been proven recently. And I think with the talent that he has here, we'll see more of that top line vehicle than we've seen in the past. That's all I meant from it, Johnny. Agree?
Yeah, you don't need me to answer that. You just took up the minute yourself, David. You hit right on it, baby. Good one.
Johnny, I miss you, buddy. I'll see you soon.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Love you, bro. Talk to you soon.
Later, bro. Bye.
Later, bro.
John Harris here on TexAgs Radio. All right, let's hit a break. We'll come back. Coach G is in the house. We got Garrett Chadwell later as well. We got a coaches hour here on TexAgs Radio. Right now, all Aggie hullabaloo time is game week, and if you're headed to the game this Saturday, the Association of Former Students wants to invite you to join them at the All Aggie Hullabaloo. Make the Clayton W. Williams Jr. Alumni Center your game day headquarters every home game this fall, and enjoy free drinks, food trucks, a vendor marketplace, DJ Rob, and game watching, and much, much more. Plus, if you got questions about your Aggie ring or need to visit, have it resized, the Aggie ring office will be open throughout the event. The All Aggie Hullabaloo starts 3 hours before kickoff, and admission is absolutely free. You will need to claim a wristband for your drinks, and you can do that by registering at tx.ag/allaggiehullabaloo. If you are a business and are interested in becoming a vendor at the event, email the association at sponsorships@aggienetwork.com. Don't miss out on this great event, and don't forget to register for your wristband at tx.ag/allaggiehullabaloo. All right, we're back. TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers here in the Rollo Insurance Studio. Let's talk a little soccer. Coach G's in the house, as he is on every Tuesday during the season. Coach, how are you?
I'm doing all right.
It's it's been fun to be up close doing the color for the games. I've really enjoyed it. I love the vibe I've been getting there at Ellis.
It's been neat having you over there. I know we've talked for a while about having you involved, and again, you're a soccer dad. You've always been, a fan of the game. So getting you kind of a little bit more on the inside, and whether it's you doing stuff with David Ellis and Jeff on the one side of the broadcast, or having you with Casey Catnip on the radio, I think it's kind of cool.
It's been fun, but it has been humbling, as I've told you, because Jeff is brilliant. He's breaking down the defense. I'm like, dude, I just saw a fast runner. You saw it all. He is so good. So,
and he's really quick to monologue too, so
yeah,
he can go off and on stuff, which is good because he's a really, really smart guy.
I said on the broadcast the other day, I feel like your team has been the better team in most of the Florida State game, most of the Washington State game, and the Baylor game. You guys are the better team. You're not getting the results yet, but I feel like you're knocking. It's coming. Am I right here?
No, you're right, and that's been the frustrating part for myself, but it's also been really the frustrating part for the players because, because they know that they can play with and that they can beat these teams. They just haven't beaten these teams, right. And so. I schedule hard games. I schedule hard games because I think we can beat these teams, and I think that the players have kind of shown themselves that they can. Other schools around the league and around the country are playing directional state in these early games, and they're getting lopsided wins and maybe building up their egos and everything else. But which is good, which is maybe what they need. But for us, I think we're building up our confidence because we know we can play against anybody. Washington State, because they were able to get out of here with a 3-2 win, a couple of gifts by us, is a nationally ranked team. Florida State, partially because they were able to get out of here with a late 2-1 victory, is the number 2 team in the country right now. And and Baylor, they got out of here with a 1-1 draw, and I mean, hats off to them because they were throwing bodies in front of the goal. They cleared probably 4 balls off the line. We hit the post a couple times, and they finished their 1 of 3 chances, and they thwarted us from all the chances that we had. So we played teams that are going to be really good in their leagues because we need to know about ourselves and we need to test ourselves, and we're going to play in a tough league. The SEC is a very challenging league. So we feel like, and yesterday in training and prior to training, we had great conversations with the team amongst the players and coaches just on, okay, we're good enough to do this. We've got to be more consistent. We've got to be more adept. We've got our communication within the game has got to be much more on point, and lots of agreement, and then a lot of just questions and answers between the coaches and the players and coaches on, okay, how are these, what happens here, what happens there, which was fantastic. I mean, and if we're beating what's the matter you in these first 3 games, these questions aren't coming up, and then all of a sudden we get into the SEC and we haven't been exposed to these things. So tomorrow night we'll play Tulsa, and that'll be here we are. We're going to play. It'll be our first time to play not a Power 5 conference team,
right?
And hopefully a chance for us to finally get over that hump, and then we're going to go and play another Power 5 team on the road on Sunday. So we're I think that we're ready to to try to make that big step, and then I think once we can make that big step, then we can get ourselves into a bit of a run.
You're getting shots off. Are you getting the right shots off? 23, I think, against Baylor, if I remember correctly.
Well, I think shot selection is one that we can do a little bit better with always, because I think in the Baylor game our average distance was 18.1 meters, so we've got to get a little bit closer. Just we'd like our average shot to be from 3 yards instead of 18 yards. But part of that is these teams are against Baylor, they had 5 people inside the 6-yard box, so we're banging off of players. We hit a lot of players in the back of the head and in kidneys and vital organs because they had so many people back inside the box, and that might be the case in some of our other games. So we've got to be better with our people who are off the ball in the penalty area to be a little bit more aggressive, a little bit smarter in the way that we get on the end of crosses, because Mia Pante and Sammy Smith and especially Micaiah McDonald, they are getting end line. They're beating their players on the flanks and getting balls, zipping and whizzing balls across the face of goal that we've got to get on the end of, pure and simple. And that's what we're not doing. And has been a point of emphasis for us, that we get on the end of those balls, we put those balls on frame. One of our strikers in both the Washington State game and then again this past week against Baylor, she had a shot from 5 yards and put it just above the upper 90 in both games. Those balls go in, the result is different. We have a win and a draw, and now all of a sudden it's a different season.
I love watching Miley play, and I think everybody does. She plays with this energy, and she won't be beat to the ball. You've tinkered with her a little bit. I think started off with the false 9. Where do you see? Is it still trying to figure out where she's at her most lethal?
Well, I mean, part of the experiment with her was she's most dangerous when she's facing goal, and and oftentimes when she's just playing as a pure 9 up front, she's got a carnivorous defender draped on her back, and she's back to goal. So we were trying to find ways to pull her back a little bit so that she could be faced up and run at people. Well, a little bit of what was happening was she was having to go too deep. And so in the last 30 minutes of the Baylor game, we were able to put her up as the true 9, and she was able to run at people. She drew the penalty kick, and that's what got us our goal finally. But how can we get her closer to goal? How can we get her where her tenacity and her relentlessness is paying off, and we can get her closer to goal? Is the 18 meters, can we get her to 7 meters is what we're looking to do.
It's still special to go against Tulsa. I don't know how often you play against them, but your alma mater.
Yeah, it is. It's funny. We were talking on our radio show the other night. Is for those who don't know, I'm a University of Tulsa graduate, and I was talking when my wife and I, before we moved here, I was talking with some of my college friends, and for those of us who went to Tulsa, we're just the school is known as TU, and so you're always rooting for TU and all this stuff. And my wife we're driving home from the event we were in. She goes, when we moved down to College Station, you need to become a Tulsa graduate and not a TU graduate. And I was like, what are you talking about? She goes, well, there's another school that is known as TU, and you do not want to be associated with that school. So I was like, point taken. So I will forever be a Tulsa graduate. So at the game, if you're at the game tomorrow night, you can go ahead and say beat the hell out of TU, and it'll be taken the right way by the opponents. But I am a proud Tulsa grad, and Jim Ryan, who is their coach, is a good friend, and he's got a team that they came into the season with a lot of high hopes. He does have a lot of talent on the team. They've also had a hard time kind of getting off the starting line this year. So I respect him a lot, but we need to beat him, and we'll still get on very well after the game.
There you go, Coach G. I appreciate you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's Coach G. We'll come back with more next on TexAgs Radio. Little housekeeping here on TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Nick, remind me, do we unveil up to the second college football today? Is that today that we do it?
I believe that is. Oh yes, Kay Negley behind me says yes, that is today.
So if you guys don't remember, we do an SEC heavy. It's not all SEC, but it's an SEC heavy show called Up to the Second College Football. We're actually changing the way we do it.
It's back. It's bigger. It's better.
It's got Lucci in it. It's got a national guest in it. It's going to be different. So I will be doing a interview with a national guest every week, and we'll look at A&M, of course, because we are A&M heavy, but we'll do all the big storylines in the SEC and beyond with a national guest each week. Plus, Billy and Caroline Fenton going to be doing Around the SEC as well on that show, and that is brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors. That'll unveil later on today, so we're looking forward to the new format of Up to the Second College Football. Hopefully you guys can take a listen or watch, however you consume that information. My guest this week is Chris Doring from the SEC Network, so that'll publish later on this afternoon. The other thing I wanted to get into is we're having a party here at TexAgs on Saturday, like a party. And we already know that Kevin doesn't follow the 8-ounce water rule because she parties hard, and she's planning our tailgate this weekend. Cavs, what's going on?
That's a lie, first of all, to any future employers that may be watching this.
What?
I'm not a party harder. I'm not.
I didn't say, I said you party. There's nothing wrong with enjoying life.
I enjoy life, but I'm not a partier, and I stand by that. Other people in this office?
Can't say that about?
Can't say that.
I'm a big partier.
Are you?
Huge.
Giant. Anyways.
Promise you there was a day I was. Promise.
I can see that there was a day that was the truth, but I know that it is not anymore because you did tell me that your signature drink was coffee.
Yeah, that's what I drink. 2 waters and a coffee every morning.
Very good. Way to keep it healthy.
Thank
David.
you very much. Appreciate you. But you've got some details on our tailgate.
I do have some details. So, like he said, I'm planning tailgates this year, and our first one is this Saturday because first Aggie football game is this Saturday. The game kicks off at 6 p.m., but the tailgate kicks off at 3 p.m., so 3 hours prior, and it will end 30 minutes before kickoff, so you can mosey on down Wellburn Road and walk into Kyle Field. We're right across the street. But, I would love if everybody could come and hang out. We have Costa Vida selling some burritos with a special guest that will be serving those. And then there's going to be good music that Bronny actually crafted. He crafted the playlist this year. So we're going to see how that goes. I've seen some of the songs, should be pretty bumping. But other than that, it's going to be a lot of fun. We'll have TVs out, playing some games. We got cornhole boards. It's going to be, I'm excited for it. It should be really good. We'll see how it goes though.
And, like a good offensive coordinator, you'll tinker with it as the season goes on.
Yes. Yep. I think the big one obviously is going to be Alabama. So we got a couple of practice runs before that, but I'm excited to see how this one goes.
Yep.
Yeah. So if you're in College Station, you want to stop by 308 George Bush Drive. come on by.
That
3
is
p.m.
Kennedy Cabin there at the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Kennedy, let's get one text message in. Hoyt and I went back and forth. He was going to give us a little bit of his reasoning. Just so everybody understands, I think the offense is going to be significantly improved, and I used the comparison going from a Ford Tempo to a Mercedes. I think that's what I said.
Yeah.
He disagreed. So let's hear on the why.
I'm not seeing it. Oh, I do see it now up there. But he said, I really think, Davis, is that we have a deeper problem in Maggie Landon, whether or not Petrino is going to retrieve our offense. And then he said, I think we have a cultural issue in Bryan College Station. I don't think it's a place where players feel at home. There's not enough people who are like-minded and like our players, if you understand, and I think you do. Don't think this is a place players really want to come in.
I'll pause that. I mean,
because
Hoyt, with all due respect, buddy, have you seen the recruiting classes they've been getting here? If people didn't want to come here, it would stop. They have one of the top 10 recruiting classes right now. They had the number 1 class a couple years ago. This is a great community. It's a fantastic community, one that I've lived in 3 different times. So I disagree with that. I also get to talk to the players who love it here. And by the way, if you know anything about SEC cities, most of them are like this in some way, shape, or form. Have you been to Tuscaloosa, right? Like, I'm just saying, Gainesville, it's not this big city, right? Like, so I understand where you're going with that. I completely disagree. But the commentary that we initially were talking about was about the offense. I don't know how we got to the cultural issue. We've got the playmakers. Have you looked at the 5 stars? Like, Hoyt, I respect that you listen to our show and you've been loyal to it, but I completely disagree with you there.
David, and if I can chime in on that,
You're
what
allowed
I would
to.
say is I think it's like for the schools that are in the big cities, that's the case, where there's no culture, right? When you get towns like, I wouldn't even call Bryan College Station a small town. Obviously, it's not. There's, 6-figure amount of people living here. But like when you get into Vanderbilt and Nashville, I guess with Texas coming in next year, they'll be in Austin. Like that doesn't feel like a community, right? That's just like a big city. So if I were to say anything to that, I would say I think it's the opposite. I think A&M, Alabama, Ole Miss, whatever, towns in the college or schools in the college towns benefit from having, the smaller community.
Well, he ends it. I'm sure I could be quite wrong. I've been watching this for a long time. Can't figure out why we just can't get over the hump, no matter who the coach is or the players are. Take care, David. I do enjoy the show. All right. Thank you, Hoyt. Appreciate you. I mean, over the hump means the national championship. Man, we ain't the only ones, right? We did have a great year, top 5 year just a couple years ago. It feels like 20 because of last year, but which hump are we talking about? There are several humps. Hey, now. All right, we'll hit a break there on that note because I can't. Caldwell Country Chevrolet. Just a little drive to Caldwell, like 15 minutes, guys, as I try to come up with a way to segue into the great dealership that is Caldwell Country Chevrolet, Highway 21 in Caldwell, and online at caldwellcountrychevrolet.com. It's about the deals, it's about the experience, it's about the people. You put those 3 things together, and you get Caldwell Country Chevrolet. When you're looking for a new vehicle, that's the place you go. You start online at caldwellcountrychevrolet.com. You start there, and you're going to feel much better about the situation because, A, you're going to see all the deals that they have. You're going to get to see all the vehicles that they have. And then you're going to go in person, have amazing customer service. You're going to get talked through the process. You're going to get a great trade-in value. You're going to find the vehicle you want. It's not only the vehicle that you want, the vehicle that you need to have for your situation, your family needs, your own needs, your business needs, whatever it may be. And then you're going to get great customer service throughout, right? They have complimentary pickup for all their service customers. The entire experience, second to none. I highly recommend it. 15-minute drive, Brian to Caldwell. Short conversation away, but you'll see the difference when you step on the lot and do business with our good friends there at Caldwell Country Chevrolet. Highway 21 in Caldwell, online, caldwellcountrychevrolet.com. All right, it's TexAgs Radio presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. We've got Garrett Chadwell in studio. Busy time of year, my friend. What's up?
Gearing up for Pebble Beach.
Are you ready?
Look, cooler weather. I am ready.
I was going to say, what is it, like 60s, 70s
High
right now?
65. Like, I had to dig deep to find something that had any sort of fleece to it.
Well, this morning when I went outside, it was, I don't know, OB said it was like 74 degrees. I don't want to say it felt spectacular, but it felt spectacular compared to what we've had.
It felt cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is not really cool, but it felt
cooler.
Yeah.
I'm ready.
I bet you are.
Yeah.
There's a little different format this year. Is that right?
It's still the same.
Okay.
It's 6 count 5. That's
Okay.
different from what we normally do. So I think that's just to help with pairings, and I mean, it's to provide another student athlete an opportunity to go around Pebble Beach 3 times and get that. So they do a great job with the event. We had a lot of fun last year. A lot of our girls, it was their first time to even be on property. So to be able to stay in the lodge and play Pebble Beach with the caddy, it was killer. So I think it'll even still feel like first times for them. So I'm going back. So
Yeah.
everybody's buzzing.
Elite schools out there as well.
Same field, really. It's elite schools. You'll have Stanford, a lot of probably regional flavor here for us: Arkansas, Oklahoma State, Texas Tech, Vandy, Mississippi State. It'll be the same 8 teams going forward. But we can't wait to stick our nose into something.
I was gonna say you probably not only need this like Coach G was in earlier from soccer talking about like he wants to schedule these hard ones because when it comes, right?
Yeah.
Like, and
Yeah.
you're the same way. You want to get used to this competition all year long, not kind of ease your way into it.
The Tom Izzo method, right? Like schedule as hard as you can and be ready for them March, for us April, May. It's going to be interesting. There's a lot of people don't know. GolfStat has been our ranking live scoring system for forever, and they're now out, and Spike Mark is in, which there's been a lot of everybody's struggling with that because it's going to be like a point-based deal, and it might not be in your best interest to schedule as hard as you can, depending on your team. So that's going to be a big thing for our staff, is to kind of figure out how this goes for our future scheduling. But that's a caveat for those following at home. You won't find us on GolfStat anymore. It'll be spikemark.com.
Okay, all right.
There you go. There's a plug.
Annika, they got the Intercollegiate coming up as well.
That's a first for our program. That's the top 12 teams in the country.
Wow.
And to be able to once again go up north, a little cooler temperature, probably more grass familiar, more from our Europeans, but we're excited to see that field. That's going to be impressive. And what they do around the event for the student athlete experience is going to be a lot of fun. So our schedule for the fall is we might not ever see it again. Then you go to Stevens Cup, which is an invite. It's 7 teams in Dallas. That'll be on the Golf Channel. And then to be able to go back to Eastlake as a semifinalist, I don't think you could script a better fall schedule for us.
What an elite fall schedule.
Elite fall schedule.
How's Kata adjusting?
Very well.
Did I pronounce it correctly?
Yeah, Kata. Cayetano, you'll see it as spelled out. But she's doing well. I think it's still, everything is a little bit fast for her.
Mm-hmm.
I think this weekend will be good because it'll get her an environment that she's very familiar with, tournament golf, in a routine. Trying to learn traditions on the fly is very hard. But she's doing just as well as expected. Our other freshman, Sky Sudbury's thriving, is on the road too. So I'm excited for that, for them to have a plane ticket booked for them this weekend. I think it speaks to the hope that this program has for the future.
I assume everybody knows, but Kata's sister is?
Blanca Fernandez Garcia Pollo.
Everybody knows her name. She's
the grandma now of the bunch. She's 5 years, and Jenny's would be 5th-year senior. But gotta love Blanca. Blanca's a challenge. It seems like everything is a debate with Blanca.
Is that right?
Even when it's right, it's still a debate. Kata's wired a little bit differently. She's a little bit more laid back, but still fiery as you think as a Spaniard would be. But it's been neat to see Blanca, the big sister, trying to point her in the right direction, be on time. As stuff that probably Blanca just took for granted because she's so comfortable with her surroundings. So I'm excited for them, for this season together for them.
Don't teams need a grandma, if you will, like an elder statesman?
Yeah, we put Haley Cooper in her home, her retirement home.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's Which
has been tough for you, right?
Very tough. I said it was a Monday. There's not a day that goes by that I think of Haley Cooper when I pull in that gate. So we have Jenny, who's actually a 5th-year senior. Zoe's a 4-year senior, and Blanca's a 5th-year senior. So we do have what looks like more of a maybe retirement home than an elementary school. But it's where we'll be senior led this year for sure. And I'm excited for that as we kind of get these freshmen up to speed, and we're starting to recruit kind of some faces for the future of the program.
Anything you can report back with Jenny at Q School?
She is she shot 70 yesterday, 71-70. The golf course she plays today, I think, has been one of the easier ones from stroke average. So hopefully if she posts something red, I think it makes it a little bit more comfortable for her. that put her like in, I'm going to say tied 28th. Okay. And I believe in my head, there's 300 players there. I think the top 100 advance. So she looks pretty good as far as keep going. I talked to her last night, very comfortable with things are going, a little frustrated because she feels like she could have played better. So it's always a good sign. So I fly into Palm Springs tonight, meet up with her and watch her play her final round tomorrow and then help her get to Monterey.
Got a little bit less than a minute, but I did want to ask you about Austin Dodds joining the staff, and also we had talked about it, but Giovanna, obviously.
I mean, I've seen our practices have been phenomenal. Yeah. What we're getting accomplished now with just another like-minded individual, obviously Austin's experience, but Gio has grown. She's such a phenomenal teacher. Articulates well to the girls. We joked the other day, just the generation, we're kind of golf nerds. So like we watch golf on TV and from a technical standpoint, but I would humbly say this, I cannot think of a better coaching staff in the country. So I'm excited for the young ladies coming for official visits this fall, and they already have seen that with the contacts that we've been able to make with them. But I'm blessed to be around those two women, and they keep me on my toes, as you can imagine.
Can't wait to see you when you're back. All right, bud?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Thank you very much.
Gig 'em.
When we come back, Ryan Broniger with Recruiting Country, that and more, next on TexAgs Radio. And we are back. TexAgs Radio presented by David Gardner's Jewelers here in the Rollo Insurance Studio. And it is now time for Recruiting Country, presented by Caprock Health System, a faster patient-centered revolution in care with 2 ERs in the Bryan College Station area, the UMD Fitch, and the full-service hospital.com. Ryan Broniger.
I broke a chair.
I bet you we could fix it. What happened? I heard it crack.
Well, these chairs. Well, is that a weight joke?
No, you didn't sit on it when it cracked.
I was sitting on it when it cracked. Yeah.
I thought I heard.
I was trying to because I guess Coach Chadwell has very good posture.
Yeah.
And I don't. So I was trying to fix the butt part. It was angled too high.
Okay.
So it was like a narrow V. Is where I felt like I was sitting.
Yeah.
So I was trying to angle that down, and it went way down, and I couldn't get it back up to level. So I may have broken a chair, but I will say these chairs have been around a while. Some of them need to be replaced anyway.
Well, rumor has it.
Oh, it's on its way.
Well, it's not on its way, but rumor has it.
Has somebody made you promises?
I just know that I've heard a lot of construction, which makes me feel that something could look different.
Oh. I'm just talking about the chairs. You're talking about a whole thing.
Well, that whole thing, I would assume,
it's gonna have new chairs in it.
I mean,
what if they
bring floor mats from your old car to your new car? No, you get new floor mats.
Oh, that's true. I'm talking about the chairs. All I care about is the chairs. I can sit if I could sit anywhere if I got a comfortable chair.
What if the new studio is only standing?
I don't know if I'd like that. What if it's only recliners?
I would be okay with that.
See, yeah.
Sitting back.
I know.
You all right?
Be very casual.
Yeah. Or
very casual.
Like a couch?
There was a time, and I love Will Johnson and Monaco. They were doing a 12th Man P interview with somebody, and Will had a chair in that studio they've got at 12th Man P, and he had that thing leaned back, and he had his feet on the table. You talk about casual.
That is casual.
Love it.
That is pretty good. By the way, if you have any questions for Ryan Broniger, I say the first and last name because I can. You can text us at 979-693-1150. So do we start with where you were last weekend, or do we start
with I mean, I think the news of the day or the news of the week is the impending decision of Dominic McKinley.
Well, let's talk about it because in the last couple of days you've been posting and Jason's been posting, so there's been some movement there. So catch us up with what you can.
Yeah, so 5-star defensive lineman out of Acadiana High School just outside of Lafayette. It's actually in Scott, Louisiana, where if you want to go through there and stop and get some really good cracklins or gratons, as they call it down there.
Gratons.
No, not that. Gratons.
Graton.
No, that's the Hispanic version or Latin version.
How do you say it?
Graton.
Graton.
Your French accent is
gratin.
You're making it worse, Olin. But if you anyway, in Scott, Louisiana. Anyway, Dominic McKinley is, he had a final 6 and did similar to Blake Ivy, right? That not a lot of information was coming out regarding his recruitment. He had set his commitment date for this Friday, and as we've gotten closer, some things have started to come to the surface a little bit, and to give you some optimism for A&M, but we're not fully there yet. Like it's very, very cautious optimism. just because the lid's been kept so tight on the information. And it's a little different than Blake Ivy because if you'll remember Blake Ivy, the information was kept very close to the vest.
Yep.
But there was really only 2 schools. We knew it was A&M or LSU, that Texas was kind of out of it. With this one, it's way more than just 2 schools. So you can't even call it a coin flip. I mean, you're looking at LSU, Oklahoma, Texas A&M, Texas, and Ohio State. And I think if Ohio State was closer to Louisiana, or if Ohio State wasn't so cold, I think like they may have a real shot to land this kid. But I would imagine, based off everything I've heard, I feel good that his decision will be somewhere west of Lafayette. So I think A&M, Oklahoma, Texas is what I think will happen. But again, I want to emphasize like nothing is definitive. The longer this has gone on this weekend, as we start doing more digging and make phone calls, Jason and myself both, there has been some real A&M talk. And the Aggies have been kind of silently recruiting him under the radar. Elijah Robinson, one of their player personnel guys, Mason Smith, have done a great job with this one. But there are reasons right now, I think, for multiple schools to feel good.
Yeah.
And A&M is one of those schools. I feel most comfortably right now on Wednesday saying I think he's headed west. Now, what west school is it? We'll see. But listen, and Jason has reported this for a long time. Jason has said, like, A&M is a bigger player in this deal than you guys think. And he's right, because we're getting down to decision day, and the majority of the smoke around it right now has been maroon and white tinted, but it's not fully maroon and white. So, again, we're just trying to sift through with a kid that has kept things so close to the vest. You really got to vet what you're getting. And you really got to make sure, even if one source tells you something and another source tells you something similar, you kind of want to go through tertiary, 4 times through to make sure that what you're getting is correct. So we've been able to ping stuff off of people in Louisiana. We've been able to ping stuff off people nationally. And I think A&M they're in a good spot. I wouldn't say they're in a great spot.
Okay. Well, help us understand the caliber of player. This is already, in the last few years, the D-line has been such a hit spot for Texas A&M.
Yeah, it would be of the guys that they're going to be lining up on Saturday. I mean, it's
that ilk.
DJ Hicks, it's Shamar Turner, it's Shamar Stewart, Malik Silla, all these top-end guys. I think he's a 5-star number 1 player in Louisiana by one service. I think another service has him maybe as number 2 in Louisiana, but 6'5", 280 pounds, and can really run. I think he may even list himself at 6'6", but can really run. I was told by a source in Louisiana that he was like a 4'6", 4'7" runner at that size right now. He has obviously great length and a great frame to hold more weight. I think he's got positional versatility where he can play inside or outside. They like doing that with a guy like Shamar Turner because of how forceful he is at the line of scrimmage and can play against the run. But he's not built like Shamar Turner. He's long, and he's got good levers, and he plays with good leverage. And, like, right now, like, I think there's some real pass rush ability in him. Right now, he uses his speed combined with his power a lot to kind of like just bull high school offensive linemen. But when you watch his get off and you just kind of see him move around, you're like, man, there's a pass rush arsenal in there where he could be a real we always talk about the benefit of having guys like Malik Silla, Eni White, Ryland Kennedy, they went and got in last class as like a pure pass rusher, dip your shoulder off the edge. But what if you got that player with also in a Shamar Stewart body type?
Yeah.
And I think that's what this kid could grow into be. And you just don't know. Like, he's 270 as a senior in high school, 280. Can he keep that athleticism and that bend and that explosiveness at 290? Or does he kind of reshape the 280? He gets 280, but there's more muscle mass on him and stuff like that. It's a fantastic frame. And it's an elite prospect. And if you want him to pick A&M because of all the finalists that he's kind of sorting through right now, if he doesn't pick A&M, you're going to be playing against him.
So the Inconvenient Pothole asked a question which I don't think you can answer today.
What is it? What is his name?
Inconvenient Pothole.
Are there convenient potholes?
No, I think he's just saying he's like an everyday man because they're inconvenient everywhere.
Okay.
He asked, I'd love to hear Bronny's prediction for where we end up in the 24 class. And I think you've said before, it really depends on the kind of year we have.
Nothing's going to change there. Like, if Dominic McKinley picks A&M on Friday and A&M goes 6-6, Dominic McKinley ain't signing with Texas A&M. There's a lot of guys in this class that you could say that about. Like, they're going to have to go and win games. And I think that more so than at any other point in Jimbo Fisher's tenure at Texas A&M, the
Winning matters.
Winning has always mattered, right? And it should at a place like this. And just because you build big, nice, pretty stuff, it does not guarantee you anything. You know, it doesn't mean that you're going to win stuff, but it does raise the expectation level. And it raises the expectation level amongst the fan base, but also amongst the recruits. And I think last year might have been his last get-out-of-jail-free card in terms of it affecting directly the recruiting. So we'll see. I think they have done a fantastic job in this class coming off a 5-7 season. I mean, I think they're right now a composite like number 7 or 8. You land Dominic McKinley, could that move you into the top 5? Sure. But again, you could do all this work leading into the season, and if you fall on your face on the football field, it's really going to have repercussions, I think, in this recruiting class.
When you say fall on your face, is there a number you think A&M has to hit? Is it like 9? Is it 8? Is it 10 for them to keep a top 10 level class?
I don't know. I don't know if there's a direct number. It's just
a vibe.
It's a vibe around the program, I think. You know, is there upward
Are
trajectory?
they trending? Yeah.
Or, you know, or does 8-4 get thrown in their faces going, look, this is what he's been most of his years in College Station. And look, I'm not saying anything that people don't know. Like, the people across the street know this. And there's also a very tough balancing act between, all right, you know, we really have got to sell the program, the university, the experience of playing at A&M more so than what happens on the field. Because if you're able to sell all the other stuff and then the wins happen, it just cherry on top, right?
Right.
But in order, you kind of got to, and especially coming off 5-7, you've had to sell the program, the experience of being an Aggie football player, the town of College Station, Bryan College Station, the benefit of the Aggie ring, the Aggie network. Those are going to be prevalent in every recruiting conversation that they have, regardless of on-field results. But when the on-field results are lacking, you've really got to push that other stuff, right?
Right.
Yeah, I think playing time's another one. I think relationships with coaches, which A&M, they've got a really good. DJ Durkin has been awesome on the recruiting trail, and that's not just me looking at results. That's me talking to people, and how personable he's been with high school coaches, the recruits, all that kind of stuff. We know Elijah Robinson might be the best recruiter in the country. Legitimately. I mean, you'd have to put him in the top 5 at least. I think he's comfortably in the top 5, but he's got an argument to be the best recruiter in college football. And when you have that on staff, it's a weapon that you need to use. Coach BGA has been awesome since he's been in a full-time role. TJ Rushing's done a good job. I mean, you go through every one of them, and we wondered about the loss of Terry Price and how it would maybe affect that. And you know, Elijah Robinson said, hey, well, I'll add, you know, to make a pun out of it, I'll add TP's load to my plate, like a barbecue plate, and I'll pick up the slack there. But he's been I think they're in a good spot for, you know, if they win games, dude, the top 3 class is within reach, very much within reach, because I know you have limited spots left, but that phone starts ringing the other way when you start winning games. If you go into the season with a top 5, top 6 class, and you go through September and you're undefeated, and you know you may drop one here or there, but you're going into November and you're in a SEC West title hunt, man, that changes the whole thing. And the phone starts calling, people start calling Texas A&M saying, man, I kind of want to be a part of that. Because this place sells itself on Saturday, you know that.
Yeah.
Get these kids on campus. If you're winning games, what does that night atmosphere against Alabama look like?
It'd be a good problem to have, to be able to be selective with the type of 5-star that you bring in. And, you know, like, because now we felt it, like there's a certain fit and a certain kind of a dude that you need in that locker room.
Sure. And I think they learned a hard lesson with that last year. And you don't want to make the same mistake twice. So I think vetting, not just the type of player, but the type of human being you're getting is certainly important. And in today's NIL world, you know, I think feelings can be more volatile. You know, it is what it is. And so going through and all that, and that goes back to when they started really attacking this 24 class at that junior day, early in the spring, it was like, hey, like, we're flipping the script on our recruiting message. Don't come in there asking what A&M can do for you. I want you to come out and tell me what you can do for Texas A&M, and we'll start the conversation there. And since then, I think it's been a really refreshing approach. And you saw I mean, since May? Just a complete turnaround in the recruiting.
Yeah, it's been phenomenal. I want to kind of go through some of the names you highlighted from this weekend in high school football. Cam Coleman, just what a performance. I'll read the stats: 9 receptions, 138 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a 48-24 win.
Yeah, 5-star for a reason, man.
Yeah.
Again, another recruitment similar to Dominic McKinley, where A&M was not talked about.
I remember that, yeah.
Very much at all, and that was Damian Craig working behind the scenes with his connections in the state of Alabama. And A&M was the first one to offer that kid. That went a long way with him. So, like, this recruiting cycle has been a good conglomeration of a lot of different aspects. One of them is their early evals have been fantastic. So they went and they offered Cam Coleman before anybody else did. That's a huge deal. That's a great eval. He blossoms into a 5-star, and now he's playing like a 5-star. He checks every box in a major way, man. The only thing I didn't see in that first week highlight film is what his top end speed looks like. But man, like, how much does that really matter whenever you can create the separation, you play with the physicality, natural pass catching, elite pass catching ability. Like, he doesn't fight the football at all. And it shows tough, like he catches balls at every level. The only thing we didn't see him do the other night, and it may have been just because of the nature of the game, was try to take the top off.
Right.
But everything else he does at an elite level. And what a huge pickup.
Who do you compare him? I remember you compared him to somebody we've seen.
I don't know that I've made a comparison for Cam because I haven't watched, maybe Billy or Jason did. But I haven't watched enough long to be, okay, that reminds me of this guy. But you could pick some of the best receivers that have come to Texas A&M in the last 10, 20 years. He's kind of got a Josh Reynolds type frame.
Okay.
But more stout. He plays with some physicality like a Ricky Seals-Jones. Pass catching, like natural pass catching ability like a Christian Kirk, where when the ball's in the air, it's just like it sticks to his hands. And he also has shown one of my favorite things in his week 1 highlights was watching him go downfield as a willing blocker in the run game to try to spring runs from. That's the key to springing a 15-yard run, turn it to a 40-yard run, is the wide receiver blocking.
Sure. Let's talk about a name that caught my attention. The linebacker from Fort Bend Marshall, Noriel.
Yeah.
Pacman Dominguez.
Well, I don't know that
Pacman
is the
Pacman Dominguez.
Yeah.
Pacman Dominguez.
You can do Noriel. Pacman.
Nori. I bet you they call him Nori.
I bet they call him Pac. Anyway, really good player. 6'2", 195-pounder. Came to Fort Bend Marshall this year after last year being at Fort Bend Ridge Point, and then started his sophomore campaign. He was awesome, man. He had I think 10 tackles. He had a tackle for loss, which resulted in a safety, a couple quarterback hurries. Talking to the Fort Bend Marshall staff, and they were like, they were kind of unsure of how much they should plan, but being his first game at a new school. And one of the staff members told me at halftime, like, he ain't coming off the field now. Like, he's feeling the game. He's into it. He understands the defense, and we see that he's making too many plays. So that's a kid that doesn't have an A&M offer yet. I think that could change. I mean, that if he keeps putting out tape like that, he'll be one of the more highly offered guys in that class in the state.
Hey, I'm going to read this chat from Cody before we go to break. Bronny's hat game is always strong, but doesn't overshadow the Batman shirt, though, David, which was very nice. I haven't worn Batman in a while, but he's just saying, your hat game is strong.
I ordered some more of these, too. You can pin me on the site or DM me on social media. I'll tell you where I get them. No free ads. If this company wants to start sponsoring stuff with TexAgs, I bet they'd sell a bunch of them.
Yeah?
Because they've got really cool stuff.
All right. Let's hit a break. We'll come back with more. We'll get to your questions on the hotline, 979-693-1150. It's TexAgs Radio. TexAgs Radio, presented by David Garner's Jewelers.
She's one of a kind.
What happened now?
She's goofy.
What did I do?
It's the way she walked in with her cup
and
she's sweating.
Why are you sweating?
The people who are providing things for our tailgates showed up about 5 hours earlier than expected. So I'm like a little.
But it's like she pops in. Like, I know she's been on Social Center today, but like she just pops in and out of like. You don't have to say, "Hey, Kennedy, we need you this segment."
No, sometimes I think she's there because I can't see, right?
Yeah.
And like, hey, Kevin, Kevin's not there, and she's running from the parking lot, sweating her butt off. Excuse me, I probably should phrase it differently. Recruiting Country, presented by Caprock Health System. We've got some text messages coming in. I hope that
Can you catch your breath and read them?
I'm prepared. I'm ready to go.
By the way, she's at the Angry Elephant Social Center. What do we have?
They got good wings there.
You told me that,
and
yeah.
they don't batter them.
Yeah, we're going to do a show from there.
I think that'd be a good idea. How about a pregame show from there?
I mean, we can do as many shows as they allow. Let's do it.
I think that's a good idea.
Yep.
Honestly, and you can get them the sauce on the side. So if you're like on trying a wedding diet like myself, or like a permanent wedding diet like you're always on.
Dude, I was on a bulk.
Okay, well then you can.
And now people think my now the larges are too big. That's what people are telling me, that you look too skinny. Like, I've got chats about it today. Like, I got to go back to the meetings.
What size shirt is that?
This is probably a large.
Somebody,
I think you need to be in an XL shirt.
Bronny, someone did
tight.
ask if his mediums got burned in a fire.
Does this look big
It's
or tight?
It's loose, but
I've lost 16 pounds. I am not an XL, buddy.
I know, but you need to be in an XL.
Why?
Because I'm David Nuño. How do you say extra large in Spanish?
Extra large.
Not or the Spanish accent.
Muy grande.
Yeah, muy grande.
Hey, let's get into some text.
Have y'all read Being Austin at all? I'm just asking if y'all have read any
That's
texts.
great commentary. No, we have not.
I'm just making
You
sure.
know we're
so
live
I don't
on the air right
repeat.
now.
So I don't repeat. Being Austin said, would Dominic McKinley not staying in LA be the biggest get since Speedy?
Louisiana.
Or Louisiana?
It would be a huge get from over there. A&M's been in the mix for some of those kids that ended up going to usually LSU or Alabama. I go back to think Ishmael Shropshire was a guy that A&M was in on as a 5-star, but he ended up going to Alabama and didn't pan out. Mason Smith, who's their best defensive lineman. Jaquelin Roy, who's one of their impact defensive linemen at LSU. A&M was like really down the road on some of those recruitments and had done a good job, but they weren't able to get them over the line. For whatever reason, with Dominic McKinley, it's never felt like LSU was the main contender. Like some kids just want to leave and go somewhere else, and that's always been kind of the feeling we've gotten out of Dominic. So it doesn't surprise me in this particular recruitment, but anytime that you can go in and get the number one player in the state of Louisiana, you do it because, per capita, they pump out as many as anybody.
Yep. Cavs?
Jeff Tipton in College Station said, Ryan, are we recruiting any running backs, or are we going to the portal after the season?
Yeah, running back's interesting. I think they're taking a wait and see approach to what the beginning of the season looks like across the state, and then does some of these kids from in-state committed to other programs, do those programs start having issues, or they start looking around? Do they circle back on a Kedron Young from Lufkin, Derek McFall out of Tyler? I don't think that you're ever going to go anywhere on a Taylor Tatum out of Longview. And you just keep recruiting them, and we'll see what happens. But I would guess that if they take a running back in this class, unless somebody emerges from out of state that we're not sure of, I think they're probably waiting to see what the in-state crop looks like on tape for the first couple of weeks, and then decide, do they make new offers, or do they try to re-engage with some guys they offered early and may have committed elsewhere?
I'm going to read this one because I just want to make sure I get it out there. Chase in Houston says, tell Bronny wedding diets never work. Incorrect. They can work.
I've lost like 6 or 8.
Yeah, you've definitely lost weight.
Yeah, so. And, everybody talks about when I do it, I do cut carbohydrates. So I cut out breads, pastas, sugars is really what I'm looking to cut out. But in the end, what you're really cutting is your calories.
Yeah.
Because whenever you take all that stuff out of your diet, your calorie count goes way down. And I've been more mindful about, I'm having more protein shakes as snacks than, food. It's just lower calorie, higher protein kind of thing.
Yeah, I had a buddy who says he's on a diet, and then I saw him eat 6 slices of pizza. I go, buddy, it's not a diet. You can have a few as long as you eat around it correctly. Yeah. But anyway, let's not do diet hour. Kennedy, what else?
That's it for Recruiting Country text messages.
Okay.
Thanks for running in to do that, Kennedy. We really appreciate your effort.
You're welcome. I'm not a runner, so only for y'all.
Runner, she's a track star. You're a volleyball player, right?
I was a volleyball player.
A little bit of everything. All right, let's get into the other question I had for you. So where are you going this weekend, by the way, high school wise?
Tomorrow I'm doing pretty thin slate in the city of Houston tomorrow. So I'm going down to do Fort Bend Elkins versus Montgomery Lake Creek. Yep. Elkins had a really big win over Houston Bel Air in week 1. And then Lake Creek, some interesting prospects. They got a 25 running back named Ty Byers, who is a big back. And A&M has, I know that they have kind of been interested because of how he's built already. And his play style is not typical of what we've seen out of a bunch of backs in the state of Texas. Like, he's a legitimate bowling ball kind of kid. And then 2026 offensive lineman Hunter McKinney, the son of Steve McKinney,
yep.
Which he was awesome at camp this summer. And I think the A&M staff talked to Hunter and Steve, just And we want to see some tape. But if the tape looks like he did today, I could definitely see an offer. They were speaking about camp. If his tape
matches the camp,
then it certainly looks like an offer could be coming his way. And then you'd have to ask Steve. I think you're going to have him. Well, I don't know if he's going to be here on Friday.
I think he'll be here Friday, yeah.
But next time you ask him, like, is Hunter going to have any kind of choice if A&M offers? Are you going to let him go through the recruiting process, or is he going to be an Aggie? I think A&M would have a fantastic chance to land Hunter McKinney if they choose to offer.
So I didn't play for Texas A&M, but I went to school here, and my kids, they'll have the choice. But I think the choice has already been made if that option is there. Does that make sense? Like, you grow up an Aggie, like you
I'm
should
sure
investigate, right?
every parent should let their kid kind of go and look around.
You should investigate everything.
I was kind of being tongue in cheek there because of Steve being an All-American here,
but
and then
it's
in the
in his blood, right?
Yeah,
that's my point. Like,
and Hunter is it's not. He's not one of these kids. Well, his dad was an Aggie and played in the NFL, so he's going to get some kind of special treatment. No, he's legitimately a very intriguing player and prospect for such a young offensive lineman, and he's growing like crazy. So I'll be really interested to see kind of how he's matured in the last year. I haven't seen him play in over a year, real football in over a year. So interested in that. And then Friday, I'm going to a place that I've never been to, covering a game at Huffman-Hargrave. Never been there to cover a game, but Silsby's coming over there.
Yep.
That's on the northeast side of Houston, if you don't know where it's at. So if you take
– I think I've been there.
So you're going 99 around on the northeast side. So it's essentially northeast of Humble and Atascocita and all that, kind of out there by itself. But right off of 99 on that northeast side of Houston. And Silsby's coming to town, so I get to see Draylon Miller. And I'm always excited to see Draylon play because the highlight package should be good because they get in the ball in so many different ways, and he can do so many things.
Let's go to one more text message from Kennedy Kevin there at the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Steve in College Station's got a question, which I don't know how this works, so I'm glad he asked the question.
Yes, Stephen College Station said, Ryan, when considering a player from the portal, is input ever sought from the team leaders?
Perhaps. I don't know the answer to that either, but like, why would the team leaders know any more about the kid than the coaches do?
That's a good point.
I think that the input that you would try to gather would be
if
from –
they know each other, maybe?
Similar like the coaching staffs, recruiting staffs. How much crossover is there between the program that they're coming from and Texas A&M? And you can go through and look through where they're from in high school and what kind of human being they are there. That's probably the way it goes more so than the players being asked because, I mean, some of the players may know them because now everything's kind of shrunk in terms of, there's so many more connections that are made, and it's so much easier to make connections for kids now than it was 15, 20 years ago. So, yeah, there's a chance that some of the guys on the team know these kids coming in, like, that are being recruited out of the portal, but odds are they haven't really spent some time around them since they were in high school.
Right.
So I would think that you would rely more so on your coaching connections and people in the recruiting world.
All right, that is Ryan Broninger with Recruiting Country, brought to you by Caprock Health System. Thank you, Ronnie.
Thank you.
Time to talk a little Heritage Films. That is a way to get a documentary done for your family, which is awesome. I can speak from experience from it. We did it with my dad. We did it with my daughter. Two different types of documentaries they do. They do the 2-hour kind, right? Like the kind that goes deep into the story, deep into the pictures, the video, and family members' interviews. It's a 2-hour documentary. You can do that with Heritage Films, which is an awesome thing to do because you get to honor your family, family name, family business, in this like really unique storytelling done the Netflix way, the HBO way. That's what Chance does there with Heritage Films. But he's also got this new thing that he's released, which is called the Year Flicks, which is more of your 20-minute style video Q&A for the younger kids. It can be of any age, but like we did it with my 12-year-old daughter. Get to know things in her life that are important, video form, 20 minutes, and real easy conversations too, like the kind of questions that kids want to answer. Like adults want some deep questions. Kids just want to make it quick and almost like social media friendly, right? Like more TikTok-y, more Facebook-y, whatever. Like, not that the video looks like that, but talk in their language. And that's what the Year Flicks is all about. You can do a benchmark video a couple years later, update it, see how much they've grown. The website to get all this information is yourheritagefilm.com. Yourheritagefilm.com. 713-893-8341. 713-893-8341. This is called a Peter Burns banger. TexAgs Radio presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. Let's go to the hotline. We are joined by PB from the SEC Network, brought to you by Blue Delta Jeans. Peter, good morning, buddy.
Leave the rich behind for good. I need a little Robert O'Keefe in my life. Thank you. I'm up here in New York City. We're getting ready to do some radio here up at the Seaport area. I'm like, I'm hearing all this music, but I haven't heard any. I needed my Texas roots to come back. So thank you for my my walk-up song there.
We got you, buddy. We got you, man. Hey, let's start off with A&M for a moment before we go around the SEC. And, the big news this week, which isn't, I'd say, big news because we were expected it, but Connor Wigman being named the starter. When you see what he did last year and considering there should be some growth in year 2 with a new offense, what's A&M's ceiling in your eyes this year?
Yeah, the ceiling, the ceiling is 11 wins, in my mind. Like, the ceiling is not out of the realm of possibility. Can they be a college football playoff team? LSU has questions. Alabama has questions. And so, you can almost sit there, like, I absolutely can look at a situation where you have Texas A&M losing to Bama or losing to LSU, one of those two, but, running the table and only having one loss and not making it to Atlanta, but be on the outside looking in and still have an opportunity to be in the college football playoff. Now, that's the ceiling, right? I don't think they're an undefeated team, but can they beat LSU? Possibly. Can they beat Alabama? We've already seen that happen even with inferior teams. So, if you win one of those and you remain undefeated the rest of the way, you may not make it to Atlanta, which could be a blessing in disguise. I know it didn't help them in 2020, but it could be a blessing in disguise that you could be a 11-1 A&M squad, not have to face likely Georgia in the SEC championship game, and then boom, you're college football playoff, which you thought you'd already have a long time ago with Jimbo Fisher.
Talking to Peter Burns here on TexAgs Radio. Let's talk LSU for a minute because they do have their questions.
Well, hold on. You didn't push back on that. Like, is that like you feel like that cannot happen? Like
no,
where is your boots on the ground? Like, what are you feeling right now?
Do I think this team's got the talent and the coaching staff to get them to 11-1? I absolutely do. There's another thing to believe it. And I hate saying that out loud because I the 5-7 season is the back of my mind, even though I know that they've made the right changes for this team, for this culture, and for the offensive philosophy. I'm going to believe it a lot more here over the next month, right? When they go to Miami, when I see this team score 50 on New Mexico, if that's the case, then I'm going to feel a lot more confident moving in that direction. I do feel that is their ceiling. And by the way, I say get into the college football playoffs. I don't care what the situation is. Let's break that ceiling, right? Let's get there and see where we go. There's no pushback. I tend to think that because life in the SEC is so hard, why not A&M? Because there's a lot of questions out there. But why not somebody else too, right? Because it is wide open in the West.
Yeah, I probably look at this as much question marks in the SEC, maybe outside of Georgia, than in a long, long time. And this might be as competitive. I think State's good. I think Ole Miss is good. Hell, Arkansas and Fayetteville, you've got the best probably dynamic duo in all of college football in KJ Jefferson and Rocket Sanders. So, they're going to be a problem to have to deal with. So, this is a situation in which in a 4-team playoff, you almost have to be flawless, but I'm so excited about upcoming year in 2024 because then there's levels that you can grow, right? Like in college basketball right now, you could be a okay team and then all right, we're building towards making the tournament. Then it's making the Sweet 16. In college football, it's pretty much, did you make the college football playoff or you didn't? Like, it's pass or fail, and the Aggies have frankly failed ever since the inception of it.
Talking to Peter Burns here on TexAgs Radio. So do you think LSU, with some of the questions that they have, and I think mostly on in the secondary, right? But from an offensive perspective, do they limit how much they let Jaden Daniels run, especially since they feel so good about Logan Diggs and what he can do? Do you see them limiting his time to run, even though that's really where he shined?
Yeah, no. I think you have to. I think that was the deal that we saw with LSU last year, is that once Denbrock looked at this offense and knew what he had with Jaden, he says, go do that. Like, I wish they would have figured that game plan out against FSU in the opener, right? But they didn't know that until a little bit later. Plus, you got to realize that just like you guys have Max Johnson as the backup quarterback, having Garrett Nussmeier is pretty damn good for LSU. So it's not like a situation like, hey, man, if Jaden goes down, we're hosed. Walker Howard left and we don't have another quarterback. There's LSU fans that think that what they saw from Nussmeier after Jaden got injured a little bit last year was like, hey, man, this guy is equally as good. I mean, I would put LSU's quarterback situation outside of maybe Caleb Williams at USC, maybe the best in the country, because I think you have two legitimate SEC QB1s on that roster. And honestly, I think you could say that about A&M right now. I would much rather A&M's quarterback situation than Alabama's quarterback situation. I mean, that's a no-brainer.
All right, so let's play out both scenarios this weekend. LSU wins, LSU loses. Florida State wins, Florida State loses. Like, what does it mean for the rest of the season after what happens this weekend?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like having a mulligan in your pocket, right? It's like going to a golf tournament and knowing that, hey, if you screw up, you still get a do-over. Because I think Florida State's pretty good. I don't think they're as good as everybody's making them out to be. But I don't think they're fraudulent like 2018 Miami was. Like, that team was well overhyped, and LSU punched them in the mouth. So, I mean, this is a situation where you could see LSU, as long as if the loss was a close loss, it really doesn't hurt them as long as FSU plays well. That's why all these teams like to play these monster matchups right at the beginning, because at least you have an opportunity to build the rest of the season as opposed to playing some patsy and you don't really know what the hell do you have. So I still think LSU offensively is being slept on. The wide receiver room is great. We just saw the news that John Emery's not going to play, but the running back situation is still going to be good. Their offensive line is great. And even though they're not going to have Mason Smith in that game, I still don't think it matters. I think LSU's defensive line might be as good, if not better, than Alabama and Georgia's, and maybe one of the top in the country.
PB, Nick Saban, a lot of people not liking the whole depth chart thing, the quarterback thing. I think of it as just that it's still a TBD there, man. Like, we may not know that quarterback situation until after the Texas game. What's your take on the whole thing?
Yeah, I mean, I think that if nobody, Saban was great at talking about make me play you, like be so good in practice that I cannot play anyone else, and no one has stepped up. And so if Simpson hasn't stepped up, if Buckner hasn't stepped up, then you just say, we're going to roll with Jalen Milroe. It's not going to be great, but we're going to figure it out, because at worst case scenario, I remember Gene Chizik telling us this at SEC Network when he worked with us. He's like, if I have to choose between a pocket passing quarterback and a dual threat quarterback, and the pocket passer isn't the greatest person ever, I'm going to take the dual threat quarterback because your game plan is so much different. And so to me, you roll out Jalen Milroe, you hope that he develops as a passer, and if not, then you kind of make a change. But to me, I think it's Milroe's team. And we saw that, right? With Jake Coker, we didn't know he was going to be the starter until early in the season, or first couple of games, and they end up winning a title. They were great with Blake Sims when he was kind of a last-second guy. So, I mean, I'm afraid of Alabama this year. If for no other reason, they're going to go back to the same old-school Alabama, which is we're just going to run the ball until you want to just tap out and quit. And that's when Alabama was great, because then they played complementary football, and I don't think they played complementary football the last couple of seasons.
Talking to Peter Burns here, TexAgs Radio. All right, this Florida game I'm interested in because of how big of a year I think it could be for Billy Napier. Cam Rising's TBD. How does that change that whole matchup right there, considering what Florida is going to go up against the rest of the year and how good of a quarterback Cam Rising is?
Dude, it's huge, man. Cam Rising, I can't imagine he's going to play. I talked to some people in Utah earlier this week that said he was not even medically cleared for contact, and if that's the case, then there's no way. I'm sitting here with Harry Douglas right now, and he's telling me, oh, yeah. Okay, so you see, he says this is the kind of update you get here. Harry Douglas is right here in the green room with us, and he says he talked literally to Kyle Whittingham. Like, that's knowing the source, and it sounded like he wasn't going to play. And here's the deal. Their backup quarterback is coming off a knee injury as well, too. So this is a situation for Florida to go steal one out there in Utah. Can they do it? Dude, I don't know. Like, I want to believe that Graham Mertz can be like a game manager, but I also look at the 28 interceptions that he's thrown and wonder, like, how much am I going to trust it? I don't. I think they're going to struggle to make a bowl this season, and that's just crazy to think of Florida football and where it's at right now.
Is Quinshon Judkins the best running back in college football? I think he had a quote about it yesterday. Dude was phenomenal last year, so I understand the confidence. But where do you have him?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know where you see. I mean, Rocket Sanders is pretty good over there in Fayetteville. Of course, we talked about him, but Quinshawn is just the thing about Quinshawn. He was so quick and just twitchy last year, and then he's put on like about 15 pounds. And one of the things that he's working on, which a lot of college coaches are having their running backs do because they see the situation of NFL running backs not getting paid, which is telling him to catch the ball out of the backfield. And like that's the missing element in Quinshawn's game. And if they figure that out, there's a chance that he could be over in New York City as a Heisman finalist. I don't think he could win it because I don't think voters will vote for a running back because it's always been a quarterback-driven thing for the most part. And B, I don't think Ole Miss is going to win enough games this season to cut through enough to where voters would vote for Quinshawn.
PB, I haven't kept up with ACC this morning. I don't know where they are with things, but let's just say they do end up expanding. What does that mean for Florida State? Do you think they're still going to try to find a way out when they can find a way out, or does that keep them there a little bit more quiet for the at least couple years?
Yeah, I mean, I think what's interesting is that you look at it was Florida State, North Carolina State, and Clemson all voted against adding those two teams. And to me, that tells me when the strongest brands of that conference don't want to add anyone else, that means that they almost in a weird way want the conference to fail. Like they want it to dissolve so they could go to the SEC or they could go to the Big Ten. That's the collision course we're on for college football, is having two major conferences, and kind of like how we have in the NFL, the NFC and AFC. So I think Florida State was rattling the saber a little bit, hoping that the Big Ten would try to move into the Southeast footprint. And when that didn't happen, then they're just like, well, we're just stuck with this television deal for for the next 15 years. So, again, it's crazy times, man. But they're the ones who signed the deal, and not us. So
that is Peter Burns, SEC Network, brought to you by Blue Delta Jeans. Appreciate you, Peter. Enjoy New York, buddy.
See you, buddy. Later.
Peter Burns. Good times there. Let's hit a break. We'll come back. I want to hear from Danny Gonzalez, the New Mexico head coach. So we'll hear some thoughts from him about Texas A&M. He paid them a lot of respect. We'll hear that here in a moment. Right now, Milliken Reserve, farm-to-table community in College Station. They got homes, they got trails, they got wide open spaces with a mission to build a healthy community around nature. Here's the thing about them. They want families to connect, right? They want families to connect to nature and to each other. They're committed to maintaining and restoring a natural habitat. So when you go there, it's going to be the way it's supposed to be, right? The way God intended it to be. That's what they do there at Milliken Reserve. They provide natural settings for people to connect and come together, and that's where you can go hiking, biking, canoeing, kayaking, equestrian trails, evening yoga, the summer camps, the music festivals, the farmer markets, and the farm tours. It's a great place to go, and you can live there, right? The homeowners there sharing the legacy of conservation, which means generation after generation, you're coming back to that same pristine countryside place. The website, millikenreserve.com. Again, millikenreserve.com. Go check them out. All right, we're back. TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Let's do this. Let's hear from Danny Gonzalez, the head coach in New Mexico, who really knows his team. Like he broke it down. Like, I mean, he knew names. Maybe he didn't pronounce them all great, but he knew the names. Paid a lot of respect and expects for. I'll just let you listen to Danny Gonzalez, the head coach there at New Mexico.
The great thing about the first game of the season, we're going to collect a check for $1.6 million to help our athletic department. And we're going to go have some fun playing this football game. We're going to go out there and we're going to compete. They are a very, very talented football team. Coach Fisher has done a great job in amassing talent. They might have had a little bit of a struggle last year, but when you've got that much talent and you've got as good a coaches as they have, on both sides of the ball, I mean, he hired Bobby Petrino to be the offensive coordinator and DJ Durkin. All three of those guys have been head coaches. Bobby Petrino, and I mean, all that talk and nonsense about how are they going to work together, who's going to call the plays, all that stuff. Bobby Petrino's been a head coach for a long time, and he understands the role of an assistant football coach, just like Coach Long did last year when he was here. So they're not going to have any issues with that. They've got two great offensive minds working together, which will just make them that much better. And then Coach Durkin was the head coach at Maryland. He's done a really good job. Last year, they were pretty good on defense. They're really talented. I mean, up across the front, they're 6'4", 6'5", 290. They're twitchy. They're fast. They play. I mean, it's fun to watch them play on tape. They get after it up front. And then Monty Richardson, their secondary, he's obviously all SEC for a reason. And then they announced quarterback Connor Wigman, who's a really good player, played really good at the end of last year, so he has some experience in a great league. Anita Smith, he returned punts against us in 2020, and we had trouble tackling him. I was hoping he was going to go to the NFL. He didn't, so we get to go have fun and compete against him again. And then Amar Daniels, their running back, he is really, really patient, and he runs really, really hard, and he's downhill, and he's physical. So, I mean, they've got pieces all over the place. They're picked in some of the places in some places to be a preseason CFP team, which is, I mean, they're going to be every bit as talented as USC was when they played San Jose State on Saturday.
All right, so some nice props there from Danny Gonzalez. One of the things that we did, our insider yesterday, Ryan Tamari from the Pitt Press, he said that this team is different, though. The team that A&M saw a couple years ago, not the same. They got a whole new philosophy, new offense coordinator, new quarterback coming from UAB. Their offense should be a little bit better. They only won 2 games last year, but they, again, I know that I have said on several occasions you should not overlook any opponent, that every game needs to be a huge game because that's where you're coming from last year. That's 100% the case. But if you're worried about this game, or if A&M, then we got bigger problems, right? A&M should come out and do what they do. And that'll be the first step. There's a long way to go. I'm already thinking about Miami. I'm not saying that I'm looking past New Mexico, but I do expect for A&M to come and take care of business early in that game. Thinking about Miami and the changes they've made. Shannon Dawson, their new offensive coordinator, does that fit Tyler Van Dyke a little bit more? Can spread it out because he came from Houston and the cool stuff he can do offensively. But one thing at a time. Win the battle of the trenches, then I'm going to be happy. That's it. For me, it's all about the trenches. Tomorrow on the program, the fan show moves to an hour. We have Aaron Torres on the program. How about this? Stephen McGee and Ryan Swope together. 9 o'clock for that segment. You won't want to miss that. My thanks to all of our great guests on the program today. Peter Burns, Ryan Broniger, Coach G, Garrett Chadwell, John Harris, DeMontre Moore, Olin Buchanan. Thanks to Nick Savage in the back. And, of course, Sean and Emmy back there at the mothership. That's going to do it for TexAgs Radio on a Wednesday.